Argentinian flag etched into the side of his haircut is the nearest Aston Villa fan to those PSG ultras, and he will be appetite whetted, Emi Martinez, for a big night like this. He has known big nights on the international stage. This is his biggest night as an Aston Villa player.
And the blue stripe in his hair, it almost resembles the blue touch paper, doesn't it? Because he's certainly lit that. He's certainly upset a lot of people. And the reception that he got when he came out to warm up tonight, the stadium was only half full at that point, but he got the, well, not the warmest of welcomes, let's put it that way. But we said in the pre-show, he thrives on that, Emi Martinez. That's where he gets the best out of himself, by doing things like that.
Warm welcomes were given out with hugs in the tunnel from Prince William for each Aston Villa player as they came in off the warm-up. Big time atmosphere here as we prepare for kick-off in Paris. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. We are live on BBC Sounds tonight. Aston Villa's first quarter-final in Europe's elite competition since March 1983 when they played against Juventus, and we are underway with Villa in their change kit of all white. Yuri Tielemans plays it back to Emi Martinez, and you'll know tonight anytime the Argentinian World Cup winner has possession, because the Paris fans will boo him resoundingly as Ousmane Dembele tries the first flick of the night, loses his footing in doing so, and Ezri Konsa rolls it back into Pau Torres, and the deafening din as Aston Villa try to hold on possession. Luca Digne, a former PSG player, he'll be well familiar with this atmosphere. Forward for Aston Villa, too far ahead of Rashford, and it's touched back to the goalkeeper by Lucas Beraldo, the 21-year-old Brazilian who'll have every right to be the most nervous of the home team. This is the first time he's ever started a Champions League game. He's in for Marquinhos tonight, the experienced Brazilian who's suspended.
Well, the two centre-halves, Pacho's 23 years old, Beraldo's 21, so the inexperience is there, but the quality certainly, is there in abundance. We can see already the tone of the game. As soon as Aston Villa have possession, PSG, they're so quick, they want to close down, they want to win the ball back within 2 or 3 passes. Possession for Aston Villa tonight will be at a premium, but it's what they do when they get that possession.
Paris Saint-Germain in the dark navy with red trim. The Italian Gianluigi Donnarumma is their goalkeeper. He's been around forever, but he only turned 26 as a 27. He turned in February. It just seems like he's been around the Champions League scene for decades, the former Milan player. He plays behind a back four of Achraf Hakimi, the Moroccan, Lucas Beraldo, who we mentioned, the Brazilian, William Pacho, the Ecuadorian, who they spent a lot of money on in the summer, and Nuno Mendes, the very accomplished Portuguese left back. In midfield, João Neves, Vitinha, Portuguese pair, along with the Spaniard Fabian Ruiz, and then a front three of Desiré Doué, Ousmane Dembele, who's got 7 goals in his last 6 Champions League games, and Ivica Kvaratskhelia, the Georgian, who's the surprise in the team tonight, preferred to Bradley Barcola. Paris Saint-Germain have possession inside the central third. They play from right to left as we look down. Flags swirl in the air. The voices of tens of thousands of Parisians fill the eardrums as Ousmane Dembele shoots from 10 yards outside the penalty area, and he lost his footing again. That's twice he slipped as the shot careers over the crossbar and into the Paris Saint-Germain fans behind the goal. PSG 0, Aston Villa 0. The boos and the G's from Martinez as he prepares to take the first goal kick.
You'd expect better from Dembele in that situation. Got himself 25, 35 yards from goal, hit a decent strike, went over the bar. But again, now you can hear the boos for Emi Martinez. They've taken the goal kick across the 6-yard box, but PSG, they've got the 18-yard box surrounded. There's 4-5 players all ready to pounce and put the high press on, which they're known for.
The Aston Villa team, Martinez playing behind the back four of Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres, who's back in the team. He started against Brighton last midweek. That's been his only Premier League appearance since December, but you can see how highly Unai Emery rates the Spaniard, that he wants Pau Torres in the team tonight. As Martinez clears away right-footed and clears it straight out of play, and the Paris fans will enjoy that. This is going to be a bit of pantomime tonight in the French capital between Emi Martinez and the Paris Saint-Germain supporters. First goal of the night in the Championship. Queen's Park Rangers have taken the lead away at Oxford. That was a 7:45 kickoff. And Swansea have taken the lead against Plymouth. Swansea 1, Plymouth 0 in the Championship. This is on the left-hand side of the attack. Kvaratskhelia for Paris Saint-Germain, playing the ball infield to Vitinha. Vitinha, once of Wolverhampton Wanderers, played against Villa twice in his time in England, has Kvaratskhelia comes in off that left wing again and sprays possession over to the right-hand side, where Lucas Beraldo will come forward into Aston Villa territory. No immediate high press from Unai Emery's team. They are sitting deep, ready to see what PSG want to throw at them. You know, this current generation of Paris Saint-Germain, which doesn't have the superstar names of old, but in a funny way that might make them a better team.
They are. The team is the star, very much so. You know, the work rate off the ball is what we spoke about, but the quality that they have, they're a very, very well-drilled outfit. You can see how well coached they are. They understand the system, and everyone understands their individual jobs.
Kvaratskhelia tries to set up an opportunity for João Neves. His pass to Dembele in the penalty area, shows a lot of it to Luca Digne. Low shot comes in, saved by Emi Martinez. First shot in anger of this Champions League quarter-final in Paris is saved by Emi Martinez. It was outside the penalty area. Vitinha kept it low, going for that bottom corner. Comfortably saved by Martinez in the air.
Yeah, Kvaratskhelia on this left-hand side, he's going to be a problem. He's a quality player, he tucks inside, plays the ball in the middle of midfield, recycled well, ended up with a decent shot on the edge of the box, not really troubling Emi Martinez.
Kvaratskhelia does a nutmeg of Matty Cash, tries to run around the other side, runs into the back of Cash, and the referee, who's from Italy tonight, Maurizio Mariali, gives the free kick to the home side. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Paris Saint-Germain 0, Aston Villa 0. In this first leg, they'll meet again at Villa Park next week. Vitinha out to Beraldo on the right-hand side as news reaches us of a goal at Swansea. Swansea playing Plymouth tonight. Here's Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 2, Plymouth 0, double their lead, and Plymouth in real trouble here. Outclassed in the early stages. Harry Darling, the centre-back with his head, came from a set-piece to make it Swansea 2, Plymouth 0.
Paris Saint-Germain 0, Aston Villa 0 here. And Villa, who've hardly had a touch in the opposition half of the field so far.
No, it's been Vitinha. He's the one that's controlling the tempo of the game. Everything that PSG do goes through him. You can see him working side to side on the pitch. He's always there. He's always an outlet. And when you look at his stats this season, completed 93% of all of his passes, highest of any midfielder in the Champions League this season. And you can already see why, the way that the game's shaping up. He's key to everything that PSG do.
Paris Saint-Germain, who secured the Ligue 1 title on Saturday. They beat Angers. That's all they had to do to make it mathematically impossible for second-place Monaco to catch them. So once again, PSG winning the league in April, which they have done regularly over the years. Sometimes we wonder, does the fact they're so dominant at home mean they lack battle hardness for nights like this? But Paris Saint-Germain have started well. Dembele charging down to the byline. Ramsey tracked him all the way, and out it goes for a Paris Saint-Germain corner on the right-hand side.
That's always been the question with Paris Saint-Germain, hasn't it? They've won the league at a canter. They've dominated French football for a long time. But can they do it at the top table, at the Champions League, at this level? Are they good enough to cope with the teams in the last 16, in the quarterfinals? They're showing this season that they are.
Corner taken short to Hakimi. They've worked it to Kvaratskhelia in the penalty area. Turns well, shoots, appeals for a handball. Shot on target from Dembele from a tight angle. Expertly saved by Emi Martinez. He pushes it out for a corner. I'll tell you what, they're not just leaning into the door here, Paris Saint-Germain. They are banging on it for an early goal in Paris.
That's a brilliant save by Emi Martinez, it really is. Kvaratskhelia again inside the box. He gets it to Dembele.
Corner's taken quickly. Dembele involved again, just inside the penalty area. Cash hovering ahead of him, afraid to lunge. Dembele turns again, well played by Matty Cash, off the shins of Dembele, and out for a goal kick to Aston Villa. It's still 0-0 and 5 Live in Paris.
Yeah, it was a really good strike by Dembele on his left foot on the angle. Hit it about 12 yards out on the angle. Martinez's position was excellent. It's 2 or 3 yards off his line. Flies across to his right-hand side. It's made more of a difficult save because it comes through bodies, reacts well, makes a save with his top hand.
And the build-up to that, Boubacar Kamara with a challenge on João Neves, which the video assistant referee has just had a look at. But that check is completed, no penalty, and play on. But Martinez, who's been busy already and who will expect to be busy for the rest of the night, as Pacho wins a header inside the centre circle, down for Nuno Mendes on the left-hand side. Paris Saint-Germain playing from right to left as we look down in Paris. Both coaches wearing black tonight, standing right out on the edge of their respective technical areas, which are very elongated technical areas. There is, under all of that, a running track in this stadium, and it's covered by enormous technical areas where the players are distance away from those in the dugout sitting, and the managers come and walk at least 20 paces out to get to the edge of that technical area to watch the action. Remember, this is an old stomping ground of Unai Emery's, former Paris Saint-Germain coach, as Fabian Ruiz's possession midway inside the Aston Villa half. Paris Saint-Germain are moving it around nicely. João Neves, back to Fabian Ruiz, tries a little reverse ball, which is lovely. Hakimi inside the penalty area, no urgency as he weighs up what's the best option. Through Dembele, onto Vitinha, now to the left-hand side to Kvaratskhelia. Pressure upon pressure building, low ball in, a turn and a shot from Mendes is blocked away. It's still in play as Kvaratskhelia tries to hook it in from the byline, and the ball goes out for a goal kick, and you can hear the sighs of relief from the Aston Villa fans. Still 0-0 in Paris.
So we're still inside the first 10 minutes. We are very, very early in the game. And Unai Emery's message will be keep it tight for 20 minutes. You know, we don't concede early, but you can see the way that Villa are playing. It's going to be a very, very long night for them if they keep playing like this. They surely can't get all the way through the game without conceding if this is the game plan that they're going to have. They're going to have to offer more going forward.
The pitch here looks fantastic, and Aston Villa actually have a hand in that, because 12 years ago PSG were looking for an elite groundskeeper to come and turn this into one of the best pitches in Europe, and Gerard Houllier, the former Aston Villa coach, recommended Jonathan Calderwood, who was with Aston Villa at the time. He was their head groundsman, so he was headhunted, poached, brought over to Paris or Birmingham. He's been here ever since. It's a former Villa groundskeeper that has this pitch in such really good condition. We've got to get an update, I believe, from the Coventry-Portsmouth game, is it? In fact, we'll go to that in just a moment. We will just keep an eye on how Villa attack down the right-hand side. First time they've come forward. Morgan Rogers putting a bit of pressure on Nuno Mendes, but Paris Saint-Germain deal with that. And there's a cheeky back heel from Fabian Ruiz. And Kvaratskhelia is leaning back into cash, wins a free kick for PSG. So let's check on events at the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona. Barcelona hosting Dortmund in another of the quarterfinals tonight. John Akers keeping an eye on this one for us.
10 minutes gone, Barcelona 0, Dortmund 0. It's all Barcelona. Lamine Yamal's had 2 efforts at goal, 1 saved by Kobel, 1 he should have squared to Lewandowski, and Lewandowski's had a shot tipped over the bar from the edge of the box. Barca 0, Dortmund 0.
We will go to Coventry in just a moment, but here in Paris, Ruiz tries to flick one into the penalty area. Hakimi, low cross, deflected off the first defender. Yuri Tielemans was back helping out the defence. It's all hands on deck for the Premier League side in the early stages of this Champions League quarter-final. So, Coventry against Portsmouth, Charlie Slater.
12 minutes gone, 0-0 here, but a fast-paced start to this game, and Pompey more than holding their own against the Championship playoff chasers. Dezelle with a good effort, which was well blocked, goalless.
Yuri Tielemans in possession for Aston Villa, gives it to Marcus Rashford. Long sleeves and the gloves. It has chilled a little bit this evening after it was a warm sunny day in Paris, but he's the only player on the pitch wearing gloves, Rashford, as McGinn battles hard in the midfield, as we know he can do, and he wins a free kick off Vitinha, and that relieves pressure at John McGinn. There are few in football better at doing what he's just done there, anchoring himself, forcing the opponents to barrel him over and winning the free kick for his team.
And that's exactly what Aston Villa need, some kind of controlled possession with purpose as well. They've been without the football for long periods now. John McGinn got it there, turned. His first thought was look forward. All he had was Marcus Rashford looking at 4 PSG defenders. He was going nowhere, but his ball retention was excellent, kept hold of the ball, won his team a vital free kick, which is obviously going to be a key part of their game plan tonight, because this free kick's just inside PSG's half, yet Villa are alone in the box.
A chance for Villa to attack. They are away from home inside this cauldron at the Parc des Princes, but Villa have been in very good form. They've won their last 7 games in a row in all competitions as Tielemans takes the free kick. He's put a lot on that. Looking for Pau Torres. Out comes the goalkeeper Donnarumma, who's now out of position as the ball comes back into the centre. Fabian Ruiz wins an important header. Paris Saint-Germain get it away. For a moment there, Donnarumma was in absolute no man's land, and there were several Villa players in the penalty area, but unfortunately for Unai Emery's team, the ball just didn't fall to any of them.
He's come a long way, Donnarumma there. He's made a real mess of it. PSG do have problems with set plays, as we spoke about before the game, and it's clearly something that Aston Villa have looked at, because like I said, that was a very deep free kick by Yuri Tielemans, but there was absolutely no doubt in the mind. Villa set up, launched it into the box, and that's something that they can use tonight.
Free kick to Paris Saint-Germain, left full-back position for them. Challenge on Nuno Mendes, who is still down. And a reminder that coming up tomorrow night we have More live football from France. We'll be focusing on the Europa League. It is Lyon against Manchester United tomorrow evening. Full commentary on 5 Live. We'll bring you updates of Tottenham's Europa League quarter-final against Eintracht Frankfurt, Rangers against Atletico Bilbao, and in the Conference League as well, Chelsea are in action tomorrow. Chelsea against Legia Warsaw. We'll keep you in touch with all of that. Tonight in the Champions League, 0-0 here in Paris at the Parc des Princes, where Aston Villa are hoping that they have weathered the early storm here and begin to ask a few more questions of their own.
And that's exactly what it is. That'll be their game plan. They'll split the game up into chunks, get towards the first 20 minutes, hopefully without conceding, sit deep. They know they're going to be sacrificial with possession. PSG are going to dominate the possession, but that will be something that Unai Emery's worked on. How they work off the ball, how they structured, and when they do have the turnover possession, how they spring forward.
What a ball that is. Played into the penalty area by Vitinha. Out comes Martinez, diving at the feet of Hakimi, and out it goes for a goal kick. So the last touch there came off Hakimi. Even though the Moroccan has run out with the ball to try and take a corner, it's going to be a goal kick to Aston Villa, and a high five between Tielemans and Martinez as they survive another scare. That was some pass from Vitinha.
It was a great ball by Vitinha over the top of that high line that Aston Villa hold. But Hakimi on the right hand side, he's going to be a problem. He's dropping in, getting the runs in behind Luka Dean that time. Timed his run perfectly. Emi Martinez comes out, blocks the angle, does well.
So goal kick to Villa. Pau Torres rolls it to Martinez. The increase in volume of the boos. Kamara back to Konza as Villa tried to play through the press, and it is an over-eager, over-enthusiastic press by Ousmane Dembele as he fouls Esri Konza, and Villa will take their time over this.
It really is a high press, isn't it, as well, from Paris. They set the trap extremely high, surround the box with 4, 5, 6 players at a time. Villa at the moment are struggling to break that press. When they do, PSG have committed too many bodies forward. There is space there for Aston Villa if they can get through the press, but it's a very high, difficult press to do that.
Villa hoping to sort of buy into the spirit of 1982 when they won the European Cup, the famous Peter With goal against Bayern Munich in Rotterdam. Tonight in Paris, looking for a 4th win in a row, which is something Aston Villa have never done in Champions League or the old European Cup. Oh, good play by Kvaratskhelia to take the ball away from Konza. Now Cash takes him down, and that's going to be a yellow card. A booking from Matty Cash. As he realised Konza was out of position, he is appealing that he got the ball there, but the Italian referee brandished the yellow card immediately.
That's an early booking as well for Matty Cash. It's going to be a long night now. Said about Kvaratskhelia on this left-hand side. He's a real threat that time on the turnover possession. Cash is out of position, ends up pulling him down. But he's going to have to play for the rest of the game now, carrying a yellow card.
And this is difficult enough with 11 on the pitch. Villa certainly cannot afford to go down to 10. 5 Live and BBC Sounds this evening. The first ever meeting of Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa. This is a game that Villa fans have probably been sleepless in recent nights, looking forward to. Also a little bit afraid of. Can they still be in this tie when they go back to Villa Park next week? Or could they do an Arsenal? Could they get a control of this tie? We are still very much in the early stages tonight with just over a quarter of an hour played in Paris, and Paris Saint-Germain still waiting to take this free kick after a bit of treatment there for Kvaratskhelia, the player who'd been fouled.
It's been a tough start for Aston Villa, but what do you expect when you come away in the Champions League? You know, you are going to have your backs to the wall at times, and you are going to have to put in some last-ditch defending and last-ditch blocks, and they've done that. They've done well so far. It's about what else they have.
Here's the free kick. It's a rehearsed move. Vitinha rolls it to Hakimi. He's miles out. He shoots. It bounced kindly for Martinez into the turf, and just as he got down in one knee, it popped into his gloves near his chest as Aston Villa survive again. That was speculative. It was long range from Hakimi, but the right back has got 6 Champions League goals in his career. It wouldn't be beyond the bounds of possibility for that to have flown into the back of the net as Tielemans wins a header in the midfield, but he's given it straight to Vitinha. Paris Saint-Germain with possession in the central third. Hakimi out to the right wing to Desiré Doué, who's not seen much of the ball so far, and he's challenged by Luka Dean, who wins the throw-in for Aston Villa.
They really haven't had any type of possession at the moment, Aston Villa. It's been a tough start for them. Hard, long night thus far. Chasing the ball, closing down, trying to win the ball back, and when they do win the ball back, as soon as you look up to try and find a teammate, there's a red and blue shirt on top of you before you know it. Extremely quick in the press, Paris.
This is a stadium rich in history as more jeers for Martinez. Villa again trying to play it out. Paris Saint-Germain are giving them no room in that regard. It's an extremely high press from Luis Enrique's team as another free kick is given to Paris Saint-Germain for a push by Morgan Rogers, that time near the centre circle. But it was here at this stadium that Leeds played a European Cup final in 1975. Liverpool beat Real Madrid here at this stadium in the European Cup final in 1981. It was here that Arsenal lost the UEFA Cup final, that famous Naeem lob. They came against Zaragoza when he put the ball over David Seaman from 40 yards out. So much history, so much of it involving English teams as Luca Digne lunges in on Doué again on the far side, and that's going to be a free kick to Paris Saint-Germain, and they hope that Digne doesn't get a yellow card here too. I think he's going to get away with that one. While we wait to see the outcome, back to Swansea Plymouth. Here's Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 3, Plymouth 0. The Championship strugglers having an absolute nightmare. 3 goals conceded in 36 minutes. Josh Key this time on the far side. A beautiful strike from 20 yards out at least. It's Swansea 3, Plymouth 0.
Thank you, Laura. 0-0 in Paris between Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa in this first leg of the Champions League quarter-final. Vitinha and Kvaratskhelia have got across to stand over this free kick, which is level with the edge of the penalty area that PSG attack. Now it's out by the sideline, it's miles out, and yet for a moment there was a two-man wall. And I think Rashford's just realised, well, he's not going to shoot from here. So even though Luca Digne wanted him to stay, Rashford has dropped back a little bit. Here comes the free kick, played in by Vitinha. Good header to edge it away by Kamara. Got a bit of distance out of the box, but not too far. Paris Saint-Germain will come again. Doué gives it into the Ecuadorian central defender, William Pacho. And then a good ball towards Doué again was well anticipated by Kamara again. He's working hard along with the two central defenders. He's dropping back almost like a third central defender, but Paris Saint-Germain are on the attack. 0-0, Paul Robinson.
Well, you look at where Aston Villa now, where they're lining up, they are very, very deep. Every single player, including Marcus Rashford, is almost in their own defensive third. They really aren't having any of the possession at the moment. 19% possession. That gives you an indication as to how dominant Paris are.
Desiree Doué, who was only 18 when Paris Saint-Germain paid €50 million to sign him last summer. This is a very young team. Average age, they are the youngest team left in the competition. Fabian Ruiz, 15 yards outside the penalty area. Gives it into Dembele, lays it off immediately to Vitinha, to the near touchline, where Doué at the moment has swapped wings with Kvaratskhelia, gets into the penalty area but loses possession, and Morgan Rogers, who's great at driving on, launches himself up towards the halfway line and tries to pick out Marcus Rashford with the pass. It just about got through to Rashford. It wasn't one to run onto, but the man on loan from Manchester United did well to hold on to possession. Villa going to get a free kick here for a foul on the far side, and Paris Saint-Germain, who, well, they haven't been asked enormous questions in this quarter-final so far, but when they do, they are quick to shut Aston Villa down.
It really is impressive watching this press. Like you say, the demands that he puts on his team, Luis Enrique, you can clearly see the game plan.
Joe Neves in the midfield to Hakimi, who loves to roam forward from right back. Dembele, who's the real danger man. He steps into the penalty area. 1-2 with Hakimi. Little fake cross. Great ball back to Vitinha. One touch to control, and the second to shoot over the top. Right-footed shot, too high from Vitinha. He had so much time there, it felt like he was going to pick his spot.
He had so much time on the edge of the box as well. Just literally outside the box. He gives himself time, space, rolls it under the sole of his foot, sets himself, and you expect him to at least hit the target there. Flies high and over Emi Martinez's top left-hand corner.
Now, Villa have a problem. Jacob Ramsey is down after that attempted counter-attack when Morgan Rogers came storming over the halfway line. He picked up a knock in challenging with Fabian Ruiz for possession. He was just trying to turn back as Ruiz came in, and he was sort of falling into the opponent. I don't think it's a foul by Fabian Ruiz, but Ramsey has hurt himself there, maybe catching his feet in the turf, Paul.
Yeah, it looked that way. I mean, there was contact between him and Fabian Ruiz, but when Jacob Ramsey went down, he almost slipped on the turf and turned his ankle before he actually got to the challenge. There was a challenge, there was a coming together, but as you say, Jacob Ramsey lost his footing and almost fell into the tackle before it happened.
So just a little delay here while Jacob Ramsey gets some treatment. Several of the players from both sides are coming across to the technical area to have a drink. And it gives me an opportunity to remind you that coverage of the 89th edition of the Masters from Augusta starts tomorrow night from 8 p.m. across 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Sounds. Mark Chapman is out there with the team, and it's always a fantastic listen, which I'm very much looking forward to partaking in over the weekend. While we wait for play to get back underway here in Paris, where it's still Paris Saint-Germain 0, Aston Villa 0 in this quarter-final first leg. Let's get an update on Coventry against Portsmouth tonight. It's at the Coventry Building Society Arena. Here's Charlie Slater.
We've played 25 minutes here, it's still goalless, and had quite a lengthy stoppage here too, as Victor Torp double drag backed his way through the Pompey midfield. He was caught through the back of the ankle, fell really badly, lengthy stoppage as I say, and he had to be stretchered off. Frank Lampard will be fearing the worst. He's already lost his goalkeeper Ollie Dovin to an ACL injury, which has ended his season, and now there are concerns over Torp too. Still 0-0.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. No lengthy delay here. Ramsey has left the field. He will be okay to come back on, but for the moment, Aston Villa are temporarily playing with 10 men as Morgan Rogers does well to spin away from Fabian Ruiz, but can't find a teammate. Vitinha, who's had a storming start to this game, plays it in towards Dembele, but John McGinn nicks it, shoots from miles out, John McGinn, and it skews away off his foot and over into the corner of the stadium. But, you know, if you don't buy a ticket, you don't get you can't win the raffle, and John McGinn certainly went for the glory there. Coming from Paul on that in just a moment, but there's been a goal in Barcelona. Barcelona against Dortmund in the Champions League tonight. John Akers.
The pressure's paid off. Barcelona hit the front, 25 minutes gone, and it's Koubarsi with his first Champions League goal. Set piece nodded back across, just snaked out a boot on the edge of the 6-yard box and diverted it into the net. Barcelona 1, Dortmund 0.
Barcelona have never lost a game to Dortmund. As Kvaratskhelia sends a lovely ball over the top down the right wing for Paris Saint-Germain. Hakimi cantering onto it, gets there comfortably ahead of Luca Digne. Now back to Kvaratskhelia, chips it into the penalty area. João Neves had made the burst, but good anticipation by Emi Martinez to come out and to swat it away ahead of the Portuguese player who was trying to head it directly in front of him. 0-0 here, Paul Robinson.
Yeah, good depth perception from Emi Martinez. Comes off his line, the ball was a flat ball in and he had to time it perfectly. Just got there before João Neves took it off his head.
This is Vitinha in the middle of the midfield. Dembele, who's just dropped a little deeper in recent minutes, floats the ball out to the right wing where Kvaratskhelia comes cutting in. He's a real jinking winger when he wants to be. He gets all the way into the penalty area, but then it runs away from him, and Emi Martinez boots it from the ground, right-footed, all the way down, launches it into the Paris Saint-Germain end of the field. Still, the noise continues. Still, the flags spin in the air. These are enormous flags on giant flagpoles. It actually must take quite a lot of muscle, Paul, to for 90 minutes swing those enormous flags, which they do behind the goal to our left-hand side, as here comes Nuno Mendes into the penalty area, tries to shoot, and it's blocked by Kamara, out for a Paris Saint-Germain corner.
The problem that Villa have got now is they're getting really overloaded. The two fullbacks, Hakimi and Mendes, both are pushing on and giving them another option in the wider areas. Villa, as we said, that the width that they have in Rodgers and Ramsey isn't really natural width they're tucking in, so the two fullbacks of PSG are getting a lot of joy.
Villa are hanging on. They've had less than 30% possession in these early stages. Dembele, after a short taken corner, swings it in. Ezri Konsa's header is good, gets it out of the penalty area. Now chance of a counter-attack. Rashford stepping on the gas, gets into the opposition half. Now he controls and looks up to see who's with him, and he's unlucky there. He tried to flick it for Jacob Ramsey, and he was fractionally behind Ramsey. Otherwise, Villa's number 41 would have been away. Rodgers runs into, but pressure on Donnarumma, who, cool as you like, just sidesteps him and passes the ball away.
They're having no sustained possession, Aston Villa. When the turnover does happen, they're really struggling to hold on to the ball. They have decent possession there in a good area of the pitch, but once again they wasted it and gave the ball away.
PSG 0, Aston Villa 0. Dembele in possession just outside the penalty area, gives it to Desiree Doué, who's gone back over to the right-hand side. The wingers have swapped again. Dembele looking for an angle to maybe shoot from outside the penalty area, but there's a whole line of Aston Villa players directly in front of him, so he can't get the shot away as Beraldo creeps forward to join the attack. Doué just outside the box on the right-hand side with Tielemans hovering ahead of him. Great feet from Doué, goes around Tielemans, tries to burst into the box. The Belgian recovered well. It looked like Doué was going to go past him there, but Yuri Tielemans stuck to the task and kept Paris Saint-Germain outside the box. Villa haven't been able to regain possession. Kvaratskhelia on the left wing, 15 yards shots on the byline, rolls it back to Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes, who's played all but one of Paris Saint-Germain's 12 Champions League games this season before tonight. A cross comes into the box from Doué and it's headed out by Pau Torres, but Villa can't hold on to possession. It's straight back to Nuno Mendes, and now Vitinha will come forward 12 yards outside the penalty area. Central location, gets it back from Hakimi, who keeps slotting into these central positions and needs to be watched from a Villa point of view. Poor ball from Dembele, intercepted by Luca Digne and cleared by Torres. Back to the halfway line where there's no Villa player anywhere near that, and Paris Saint-Germain could come again, 0-0.
It's almost like we're in the last 5 minutes of the game and Villa are trying to hold on. They've got everybody back. Pau Torres cleared it long down the field then. Marcus Rashford was back almost on the edge of his own 18-yard box. They've got nothing going forward at the moment, Aston Villa.
Dembele to João Neves. They're linking up with these short, crisp passes, Paris Saint-Germain, as John McGinn does very well to shield the ball. He didn't even touch it there, but he was able to protect it, and it runs through to Rashford on the left wing, who now is accelerating towards Beraldo. Beraldo trying to stand him up. Rashford into the penalty area briefly, had to step back out again. Supporters available behind from Ramsey. Now more central to Tielemans. Villa have got possession in the Paris Saint-Germain half. Can they keep it up here? Cash back to Ezri Konsa on the halfway line. Paris Saint-Germain, I'll tell you, they love a press, and they force Villa back into their own half again.
This is the first time that Aston Villa have actually had some decent possession with purpose as well. Marcus Rashford got in a really good area, and you can see that's the reason that he's been picked tonight, working hard behind the high line.
Tielemans puts it ever so slightly too far in front of Marcus Rashford there. Rashford running into the penalty area. Tielemans trying to thread it through for him, but slightly overcooked, and it runs through and back to Donnarumma once again. PSG 0, Aston Villa 0. On our monitors here we see Marquinhos looking on, the experienced Brazilian international central defender who's not allowed to play tonight because of suspension. Too many yellow cards picked up in this competition. But so far, his defensive colleagues have barely been threatened in the opening half hour of this game in Paris. Dembele has possession for Paris Saint-Germain, almost nonchalantly flicks it into Desiré Doué. Now Fabian Ruiz in the centre circle, further left to Nuno Mendes. Now Kvaratskhelia on the left wing with Cash on a yellow card, being careful about lunging in on him. Vitinha has a little pocket of space around him now. Short to João Neves, who scored against Manchester City in the group stage. Over to the right-hand side to Beraldo. Paris Saint-Germain absolutely hogging possession, but Villa just hoping that they can create some sort of counter-attack and get one on the sting. Remember, Liverpool scored a bit of a snatcher-grab goal here earlier on in the competition. Could Villa do something like that tonight, as a poor pass eventually comes from Dembele, and that goes straight out of play and out for a throw-in to Aston Villa. It is half-time in the Swansea-Plymouth game, and here's Laura Kenya.
Swansea 3, Plymouth 0, two-headed goals from Lewis O'Brien and Harry Darling, followed by a super long-range strike from Josh Keefe the third. Swansea comfortable, Plymouth fighting for championship survival, but it's fight that they've lacked. No defensive composure, and could be game over already at half-time. Swansea 3, Plymouth 0.
Queen's Park Rangers hoping it's game over away at Oxford this evening. Oxford 0, Queen's Park Rangers 2 now. Here in Paris, the Champions League quarter-final first leg. Possession and territory has been all for the home side so far, but Villa hanging on, and it's still all square at 0-0.
It's almost too easy for Paris at the moment. I think Villa are giving them far too much respect. I know it's obviously a big ask coming away. You're going to set up defensively, you're not going to have as much possession as you'd like, but I think the way that Villa are actually happy being so deep, it's going to be a long night for them if they keep playing like this.
Vitinha, who keeps getting the ball within 10 yards of the D of the penalty area that Villa defend. Dembele, similar position at the moment, picks out Fabian Ruiz. They keep moving it side to side, hoping a little gap will emerge. Paris Saint-Germain. Nuno Mendes up from left back to help out. Desiré Doué, who between goals and assists, he has had a phenomenal record since the turn of the year. As João Neves picks it up again in the midfield, and Villa can't get a nibble at the moment. Here's Vitinha coming forward. Little touch from Rashford puts him off his stride. Tielemans does enough to edge it on to Ramsey, who bursts up to the halfway line, where he's immediately stopped in his tracks by a quite wonderful slide tackle from João Neves.
Again, less than 2 passes and the turnover possession as well. I mean, Aston Villa were that deep, Marcus Rashford included. Every single Aston Villa player in a white shirt was within 5 yards of their own box. And when the turnover possession does happen, they have no outball.
That João Neves slide tackle, that could have been narrated by Sir David Attenborough, that was like something in a safari where a very fast creature is bearing down on a much slower beast, and he absolutely crunched into him there. There was no way forward for Aston Villa. 0-0 on the night in Paris. Cash under pressure from Fabian Ruiz. Villa are not being allowed to settle. Whenever they get the ball, even in their own penalty area, they are not allowed to take a touch, to look up, to get the head scanning the horizon. Here's Konza, and again closed down as he tries to clear the ball away. Dembele almost deceptively prowled up at him there, but John McGinn is able to bite in for Villa. He's really come with his tackling boots on tonight. Now, can he pick out the pass here? He does, to Rashford, into the penalty area. Tielemans must be Rodgers! Morgan Rodgers with the snatch and grab goal for Aston Villa, who've barely been inside the Paris Saint-Germain penalty area all night. But with his first opportunity, he side-foots it into the net. And 10 minutes before half-time, Aston Villa have an away goal in Paris that gives them the advantage in this Champions League quarter-final. It's a moment Morgan Rodgers will never forget for the rest of his life.
Oh, who needs possession? Who needs the football all the time? You get John McGinn like that, snaps into a challenge in the middle of the pitch. He's brilliant, John McGinn. Finds Youri Tielemans on the left-hand side, who in turn, he just puts the ball across the 6-yard box. Morgan Rodgers got the easiest job. Lovely, lovely finish. Great ball by Youri Tielemans, left-footed. Goalkeeper can't come out, he's caught at the near post. Morgan Rodgers right-footed into an empty net. Sends the Villa fans to our right, absolutely wild. They've been outplayed, they've been outclassed, but his game plan's working.
It's not how much possession you have, it is what you do with it. And Paris Saint-Germain, incredibly, here at home at Parc des Princes in Paris, find themselves 1-0 down, having completely dominated the game to this point. They've had over 75% possession, but Villa, when they got their opportunity, they made it count.
We've seen a game like that involving an English team before in this stadium this year, exactly the same way. I mean, you can't overemphasise how much Aston Villa haven't had the ball, but that was about John McGinn creating that pressure, the tackle in the middle of midfield, actually a little bit of impetus, and the ball to Youri Tielemans, and then the white shirt swept forward, and that's what they've done. They've set a trap, set deep. John McGinn's won the ball back, and they were so quick from back to front.
This is Vitinha. How dumbstruck are Paris Saint-Germain going to be by this quite incredible development in the game? This was not in the script for the team who were crowned champions of France on Saturday. Not here, not on their own pitch. Nuno Mendes on the left-hand side into João Neves. They're trying to regain some composure here. But I'll tell you, for the first time tonight, the noise that is audible is the Villa fans. Here's Fabian Ruiz in the penalty area, shoots. Good block by Luca Digne. Villa haven't fully got it clear, but Luca Digne made a very good block of the shot there. Kvaratskhelia on the left wing, 5 yards on the byline, sends in a low cross. Tielemans with the most casual touch you've ever seen, but a really good one to Morgan Rodgers, and Villa going to try and clear it away. Was that a foul? It was by Nuno Mendes. It's a free kick to Villa, and they can just take a breath. But not taking a breath, the Villa fans, the far right corner of the stadium from us, they can't believe what's happening here. They're 1-0 up in the Champions League quarter-final.
I don't think many people can believe what's happening inside this stadium. Everyone who's sat watching the game, you just could not see that happening. Aston Villa very, very rarely ventured into the Paris half, never mind into the box. I'm sure that's the first time Villa have had the ball in the opposition's box. What a ball across the box it was by Tielemans.
And for fans listening at home, I think it's worth sort of going over the goal again. John McGinn doing incredible work around about the halfway line to win possession, to drive on. Tielemans did brilliantly, he provided the assist, but Rodgers, who must at the start of that move wondered, am I sprinting after a lost cause here? Am I going to have to turn around and track back again in a second? But he backed himself, he said magic could happen, and he sprinted into the penalty area, and a few miles down the road from Disneyland, he got that moment.
Very good, very, very good. And those Villa fans over to our right are certainly enjoying it. But it was within 3 passes. John McGinn snapped into the challenge, won the ball back, out to Youri Tielemans, and his ball across the box. It made it so easy for Morgan Rodgers. Tapped it into an empty net.
5 Live at BBC Sounds from a stunned Parc des Princes. Paris Saint-Germain 0, Aston Villa 1. Morgan Rogers' goal, he scored against Forest of the weekend. Here comes Dembele into the penalty area, great feed, shot on the turn by Doué. Oh, I think that was over the line. Martinez tried to claw it back. Did the ball go over the line? It certainly was near the goal line. The referee's watch clearly has not vibrated, but that was so close to sneaking in, and Emi Martinez has somehow clawed it back off the goal line and out for a corner, which has already been taken. Vitinha to Nuno Mendes, 10 yards outside the penalty area, gives it to Desiré Doué on the left-hand side. He shoots, what a goal! What a goal from Desiré Doué from outside the penalty area. He has curled it into the top corner. That was like one of Declan Rice's free kicks last night. Simply unstoppable. And after Emi Martinez made a wonderful save just a moment ago, he was getting nowhere near that. It's an instant response from Paris Saint-Germain. Desiré Doué gets his third goal in the Champions League this season, and it's Paris Saint-Germain 1, Aston Villa 1.
No, that's a finish. That is a real finish from Doué. Picks it up on the left-hand side. Villa defenders don't get close enough to him. Runs inside the edge of the box, curls it with his right foot into Emi Martinez's top left-hand corner, hits the underside of the bar, flicks off the underside of the bar. Emi Martinez doesn't even dive after it, he watches it go past him. You've got to question why the Villa goalkeeper didn't have a go, at least have a go dive. It was a brilliant finish right in the top corner, but you can't help think, go on, throw yourself at it. Brilliant finish, PSG are back in it.
Well, Emi Martinez has arrived here in Paris. He has garnered much attention. He had the hat which was mocking the French about Argentina beating them at the World Cup. He has got the Argentinian flag drawn into his hairdo tonight. He's been roundly booed whenever he's in possession by the Paris Saint-Germain fans, but he was nowhere near that, let's face it, quite wonderful Desiré Doué shot, and if he was given 100 attempts at that, I don't think he could have hit that any sweeter. It is 1-1, but Villa's lead, oh how they wish that it lasted just a little bit longer. As Villa try to come on the attack here, Rogers challenged inside the penalty area by Vitinha. Down goes Tielemans, falling into the box. To his credit, he doesn't make a song and a dance about that. Some would have appealed for a penalty as Doué releases Hakimi, and Paris Saint-Germain with an even more guttural roar of the crowd now being propelled. How dare Aston Villa come here and score against Paris Saint-Germain? Seems to be the mood here as Kvaratskhelia turns into a position similar to where Doué scored a moment ago, but this time he can't get the shot away. Rogers has only got Rashford ahead of him, launches it in hope more than expectation towards the English international. Oh, Rashford's done really well to get onto that. A mistake by Beraldo. Rashford now running at the penalty area. He's turned Beraldo inside out. Rashford tries to pull it back, and he just couldn't release the pass into Ramsey. But that was really good for Marcus Rashford, and Villa showing plenty of fight since conceding the equaliser. It's 1-1 here on 5 Live.
Brilliant by Marcus Rashford. So much more intent from Aston Villa. They've got the goal. They now believe that they can get at this Paris side. The two centre-halves, the two young centre-halves, Beraldo it was that time, lost out to Rashford, turned him one way, turned him the other way, went past him, and he knows that he's got the beating of him with his pace. A bit more belief from Aston Villa in areas higher up the pitch. So much better by Marcus Rashford. Beraldo didn't know where he was.
The Villa lead only lasted 4 minutes. Morgan Rogers scored in the 35th minute. Desiré Doué's equaliser in the 39th minute as we approach half-time. 3 minutes of normal time to play inside the Parc de France until the break. Vitinha in possession. It's a first half that's flown by. It's a first half which most of it has taken place away to the left-hand side as we look down. The end that Aston Villa defend. But Villa, who struck so wonderfully to take the lead through Morgan Rogers, have been dragged back to 1-1, and it's going to be fascinating to see which way the pendulum swings next. Vitinha has possession. 20 yards outside the penalty area, the Paris Saint-Germain attack. Hakimi gives it out to Dembele. Oh, he's just glided past Ramsey there into the penalty area, pulls it back for Ruiz. No one marking Doué onto that left foot of his. Now outside him is Kvaratskhelia. He tries to shoot, and it's blocked off. Rogers, good block with the ball still in play. play, and then Kvaratskhelia allows the ball go out of play because he knows it's going to be a corner, and there's no time to waste as Paris Saint-Germain take it immediately. 1-1 in Paris. Doué, he shoots again! Great shot, but saved by Martinez. Couldn't fully clear. It's ricocheted off a few defenders. It's fallen for Doué. Left-footed shot. This time it's over the top. Villa are hanging on by their fingernails at the moment. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Aston Villa 1.
Another brilliant strike by Doué. Hits the target, this time straight at Emi Martinez. Goalkeeper makes a real mess of it. Palms it straight up in the air and it lands back inside his own 6-yard box. Puts his two central defenders, Konza and Pau Torres, in all kinds of trouble.
The video assistant referee for a moment there was looking to see if there was a potential penalty, but that check is over and Aston Villa can breathe again. It was pinball in the penalty area just before that shot from Doué went away off target, but the one that he scored with was quite amazing. The quality of the two goals tonight has been certainly of Champions League knockout stages level.
Well, the game's normal service resumed. It's taken the same shape that it had before the Villa goal. Paris Saint-Germain pressing. Listen, if Aston Villa had gone in 1-0 up at half-time, you would have to say they certainly haven't deserved it. Paris certainly do not deserve to be behind in this game the way that they're playing. And since they've got the goal, they're now on the offensive, and it's looking like they that will get the second.
Here comes Dembele, loves to wander out to the right wing, and now he cuts in off the sideline, infield of Luca Digne. Good work by Konza on the edge of the penalty area to cut out an attempted pass, but Vitinha wins it back again, plays a little disguise ball to Dembele, needs triangular passing, all little short movements, lovely footwork again from Vitinha, tries to get on the end of a 1-2, and Cash eventually regains possession for Villa, tries to drill it down the field to Rashford. The first effort is cut out, then Ramsey tries to play another one, but that's cut out, and they're finding it difficult to pick out the front man at the moment. Aston Villa 1-1 here in Paris.
He's getting frustrated, Marcus Rashford. He's cutting a very, very lonely figure, and you can see he's not getting the ball, he's not getting the service.
Great ball again, Hakimi to the byline on the right hand side, Ramsey trying to get back. We move into stoppages, 2 minutes to be added on ahead of half time in Paris. Dembele can't get the shot away, the ball falls to Rashford, carefully tries to play it to Kamara, but Doué, around the world move to spin away from two opponents into the penalty area. Doué tries to shoot, and Pau Torres makes a really important block. Doué has had a brilliant first half. He was quiet for the first 10 minutes. He's been electric ever since then, as Villa tried to come on the counter-attack here. 1-1 in Paris.
Doué did about 3 defenders then, didn't he? It was unbelievable. That little round-the-world movement that he did took 3-4 Aston Villa players out, but he looked so sharp, so quick. Once again, the turnover of possession, they're so dangerous.
Over the years, Paris Saint-Germain have had so many players who have executed that sort of move. Think of Ronaldinho back in the day, Neymar, Messi, all those greats who've played here for this club. This current Paris Saint-Germain generation doesn't have that superstar name in it, but there is no shortage of flair and skill. And Doué has been electric, and Aston Villa have got to be very wary of him as John McGinn tries to play a crossfield ball into the penalty area. His intended target was Marcus Rashford, but it's got out by a Hakimi. But now it's Paris Saint-Germain who are clearing it away and giving it back to Aston Villa. That's not happened in the game yet. Rashford, midway inside Paris Saint-Germain territory, plays a little 1-2 with John McGinn, who's taken up a position wide on the left-hand side. Back to Rashford, back to McGinn. For the first time tonight, Paul Robinson, Villa are dictating the tempo. It's come in stoppages ahead of half-time.
Something that Unai Emery will try and get into his players at half-time. The message will be, when you do get possession, enjoy possession. Not just possession for possession's sake, but keep the ball and spend time with it, because it's not nice running after it all night.
Kamara down the right-hand side with João Neves trying to foul him, but down goes the Villa player, and it was a delayed reaction to give a free kick, and I think the reason is because Villa were offside, so it would have been a free kick to Paris Saint-Germain, but there's no time for that anyway, because the whistle is blown after a quite astonishing first 45 minutes here. Aston Villa, rope-a-dope at times, backs to the ropes, leaning back, but then suddenly they found a punch to swing, and what a punch. Morgan Rogers giving them the lead with 10 minutes of the first half remaining. Those proved to be an eternally long 10 minutes in Paris for Villa. They were not able to hold on. 4 minutes later, Désiré Doué with one of the sweetest right-footed strikes to the top corner you'll see, and it is all square at half-time in Paris. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Aston Villa 1.
God, I'm exhausted just listening to you, Connor.
epic. I mean, I just love, no matter how they mess with this competition and the format, you cannot take away the drama of the knockout stages of the Champions League. It's just brilliant.
And far be it from me to question you, Paul, on the basis that you played in goal for England and I didn't. But you genuinely think Martinez could have done better?
I think he could have had a go. I don't get.
He couldn't have stopped it though, could he? Could he?
Well, if you look at it, the head-on replay, face down when you say from the penalty spot, looking at the goal. If he dives, he gets near it. I'm not saying he'd have saved it, but I'm just saying he didn't give himself the chance to save it by not diving.
True. Although Dion Dublin, if you'd scored that, you'd want it to all be about your strike, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. It's just, I don't know if any keeper could have stopped that, to be honest with you. Obviously Robbo knows better than everybody, but he sticks it in near enough the top corner with pace and power. And I think Martinez, I think I seen him move to his right, which gave him a bigger area to dive into. But what a finish. I mean, Doué, mate, he's been on fire for the last 15 minutes.
What a first half as well. I mean, they have been under the cosh of Villa. There were elements of that game that were just like that first leg against Liverpool. I've got stats in front of you. Paris Saint-Germain have had 68% of the ball. They've had 6 attempts on targets. They've had 15 attempts in total. Villa have had 2 attempts, one of which was on target. Martinez has made 5 saves. Donnarumma hasn't made a save, and yet they're all square.
Yeah, I just think Villa have, Unai Emery set them out and he said, listen, you're not going to have a lot of the ball. Just do what you need to do. I'm going to tell you how you're going to win this game, how you're going to stay in the game. Be patient. Marcus Rashford, for me, is a little bit too deep. Whether he's been told to be that deep, I'm not too sure, but he's a bit too deep, because when you do get the ball back, you need an out ball, and his out ball is 10 yards away from his midfield, so I just think a little bit higher, and it will give Villa a better chance of getting some more controlled possession. But PSG have been brilliant in possession. Villa have been brilliant out of possession.
And that sets us up beautifully for the second half.
It does, but it's hard to play that way for long periods of time when you're sitting in and you're allowing your opponents to have the ball. It's all about concentration. I think Robbo mentioned it as well. It's all about not switching off. It's knowing where your opponent is as well. What they do is they very rarely cross it, and if they do, Villa are happy with that. But they play those little, it's what I call, I've said this to you before, chappers, it's what I call offbeat football. They don't pass it when you think they're going to pass it. They pass it now and not how you expect them to pass it. They're so good at it. And their movement and their 1-2s are brilliant on the edge of the box. So concentration for Villa is what it's all about.
That's the percussionist in you, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly, yes. I play everything on the offbeat. It is, though, and everything on the offbeat for me. And I think it's working. It's working for PSG getting through, but I think Villa have been very resolute. They've been very honest to this system that the manager wants to play. And at the moment, they are in this game, possibly still for a win.
Dion, Paul and Connor, thank you. Second half on the way. The other Champions League quarter-final first leg this evening is Barcelona against Borussia Dortmund, where, John Akers, Barcelona have attempted 11 shots already. They have an XG of 2.1, but they're only a goal ahead.
Yeah, they should have more. Barcelona 1, Dortmund 0 then at half-time. And the goal is a Rafinha goal. But Kerbassi, his teammate, will be a little aggrieved, I think it's fair to say. They had a free kick on the right, Barcelona, swung in, nodded back across. It's a lovely finish, in inverted commas, from Kerbassi on the edge of the 6-yard box with the outside of his foot. Perfect from the central defender. It's going in, and then Rafinha gets a slight touch when it's about a foot from the goal line, maybe not even that. It then had to go to a VAR check, and he's onside just by a few inches. If that had been ruled out, there would have been serious conversations. I imagine Kerbassi is giving him one in the dressing room right now in terms of giving him a bit of verbal. Yeah, so Barcelona should be further ahead, as you said, and Dortmund have had their chances at the other end. Guirassí's had a couple of good chances, one unmarked around 10 yards out, a volley where he kicked thin air and centre of the goal, and then another one side netting near the end. So it's a good game. Barcelona should be further clear, but Dortmund look a threat at the other end too. Barca 1, Dortmund 0.
keep you up to date with all of that in the second half. Couple of latest scores in the Championship. QPR are 2-0 up at Oxford. Swansea are demolishing bottom of the table Plymouth. They lead by 3-0, 7 minutes into the second half. Half-time at Coventry, who aren't on this great run of form as they try and get back into the playoffs, and they are goalless with Portsmouth just shy of 5-9. 5 Live Sport coming to you from Augusta this evening. We'll talk more about the 89th Masters after Bethan Holmes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Donald Trump has paused his higher tariffs for 90 days for all trading partners except for China. Well, he's been explaining his decision outside of the White House within the last hour because he has hiked China's tariffs to 125%. Everyone else, though, during the pause of higher tariffs will be subject to the baseline 10% levy, which is what the UK was hit with last week.
Nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well, and they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come. And they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John. They'll do somebody. They'll go through somebody, but they're all calling. How do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
Stock markets have surged since President Trump's latest announcement. Tony Livesey will have much more on this story and the latest reaction from 10:30 right here on 5 Live. In other news today, Graham Dott, world snooker champion in 2016, has been charged with child sex offences. The 47-year-old faces historical charges relating to 2 children who were understood to be around 10 years old at the time. He was scheduled to be playing World Championship qualifying matches this week, but has been suspended by snooker world governing body. And the government's considering nationalising British Steel after concerns the company's blast furnaces in Scunthorpe are close to running out of raw material. The Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, also says a commercial sale is a possibility.
On BBC iPlayer, if you're raised in some of the world's toughest neighbourhoods, what lengths will people go to survive?
The brutality that we see today is shocking. I think it's shocking for everyone.
I'm Ashley Kane, extreme ultra athlete and former pro footballer. I'm going to some of the most hostile places on the planet to meet those who have chosen a life of extreme criminality. Do you regret what happened?
Honestly, no.
I may not condone what they do, but can I at least understand them? Into the Danger Zone with me, Ashley Kane. Watch all episodes on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sport.
The Champions League with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Cracking first 45 minutes in Paris, and Paris Saint-Germain are level 1-1 with Aston Villa. Barcelona lead Borussia Dortmund by 1-0. Second halves on the way. Also half-time in the Championship at Coventry. Charlie?
It's 0-0. I think you chose the right game to broadcast this evening. The visitors coming closest in the first half when Regan Poole's header hit the underside of the crossbar from a corner. At the other end, Jack Rodoni put a header just wide from 5 yards. One team fighting for the playoffs, the other team are battling for survival. There's a lot of urgency, but not a huge amount of quality, and that's why it's goalless.
7:45 games are back underway in the Championship. It's Oxford 0. QPR 2, and Swansea are very much enjoying themselves. Bottom of the table, Plymouth less so, Laura Kenyon.
Yeah, more goals here. Swansea 3, Plymouth 0. Chasing this game, but with no real hunger or desire, Plymouth. A triple change at half-time as they attempted to chase it, though. Houghton, Wright and Puchach on for Obafemi, Shooks and Randall. Needed to switch it up, and fighting for Championship survival did initially look brighter, but still incredibly vulnerable at the back. It's Swansea 3, Plymouth 0.
Let's talk about the golf then. Here at Augusta, we're on the eve of the 89th Masters. We'll have coverage of the tournament across all 4 rounds here on 5 Live, on Sports Extra and on BBC Sound. You'll hear us every single night across all 3 platforms. Catherine Downs and James Gregg, both part of our commentary team, out here with us all ready to go tomorrow morning here in Georgia. We're going to talk about the British and Irish Challenge, really. Talked about Rory McIlroy earlier. There are plenty of others, though. James, you want to go first?
Yeah, there are. Good evening to you. I think, look, there's if you look at the likes of Tommy Fleetwood, who many people are fancying to have a good week here, who has never won on American soil. You know, it feels like a big week every week for him, every time he's playing in the States, particularly in these major championships. And, you know, I know there's going to be a lot of chat about Rory McIlroy perhaps all the way through the weekend, and we, let's be honest, I think hope to be talking about Rory McIlroy all the way through until Sunday. But then you look at some of the debutantes as well. You know, Laurie Cantor's done very well, won a couple of times in the last couple of years on the DP World Tour, just snuck into the top 50 in the world. And then Aaron Rai, who has won on the PGA Tour and makes his debut here. So actually, it's quite a decent little contingent, isn't it, with plenty going on?
Yeah, big names you've failed to mention there, though. What about Shane Lowry? I mean, we were talking...
Lots of people are fancying
Shane Lowry. I think, you know, this is a course where your approach play, your wedge play is so vital. Those tight lies, all those dips and swales, the deep white sand bunkers around the greens. It's just set up for Lowry to give us a showcase, isn't it, of his best skill. Best Masters finish for him, a tie for 3rd a couple of years ago, but he's playing some great golf at the moment, coming back into some top form, 4 top 12s this year already. So Shane Lowry playing some good stuff.
And that's what I was going to say to you. I don't have his best finishes or his sort of tournament record here in front of me, but just anecdotally off the top of my head, he does do quite well here. And as we say, every year, the local knowledge, the familiarity of the course, players that do well here tend to still be there or abouts most years, because it's the only major that they play in the same place.
It is. It's what sets the Masters apart, isn't it? And I think for Shane Lowry, it was a question, wasn't it, of confidence. You know, having won the Open at Portrush in 2019, and then not really doing very much since not pushing on in the game of golf, but coming back, winning the Zurich Classic
alongside Rory
McIlroy. Was that last season?
Yeah,
and that's been a bit of a kick-start for a return to form for Shane Lowry, hasn't it?
Well, I think as well, the thing is with Lowry is that he is accepting of his own standing in the game. So obviously having a claret jug on your mantelpiece at home is always going to make you feel fairly comfortable with the fact that you're a half-decent player and you've achieved most of what you set out to achieve when you turn pro and all the rest of it. But I think that not coming in as a McIlroy or a John Rahm or a Scotty Scheffler in that almost B category of players suits him perfectly well. And he went toe-to-toe with Rory at Pebble Beach earlier on this season on the PGA Tour, where Rory ended up basically blitzing everybody on the Sunday to get the business done. But I think Lowry in that scenario performed really well, and you thought, OK, his A game is nowhere near Rory McIlroy's A game, but his A game is definitely on par with the Rory McIlroy B+ game.
What's happening here at the moment is they have a par 3 tournament every year on the Wednesday, which is a bit of fun, laughs and giggles for the players. Seems to have more and more toddlers running around every year.
I
don't know whether that's just me getting older, but you know, girlfriends and wives and parents all seem to hit shots on behalf of the golfers. It's not compulsory. Some of them do it, some of them don't. They've just been focusing on Tony Finau, who many years ago memorably dislocated his ankle celebrating a hole-in-one during this par 3.
And he has more children than any other player.
Well, I tell you what they've done. They've just done all the different years he's played the par 3, not showed the dislocated ankle, but each year the photo of his family has got more, has got bigger and bigger. And then after he dislocated his ankle, he then did really well in that Masters afterwards. But they've also shown Bob McIntyre, and very quickly with the teams in the tunnel in Paris, you spoke to Bob McIntyre earlier.
And he seemed in really good spirits. And the difference is that he comes in this year, Mark, as somebody who is now a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. Speaking of a player who's found their place in the game,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a Ryder Cupper who performed really well when many people didn't think he was going to, and then to win twice. And he talked about winning the Scottish Open as being the biggest tournament for him outside of the 4 golfing majors. And he basically said the next best thing would be to win somewhere like here. So,
and it's a place he's played well in his 3 previous visits. So actually, he's one of my dark horses, Mark.
There you go. There's a little dark horse to finish on. James, Kat, thank you very much. Part of our team. You'll be able to hear us across 5 Live and Sports Extra on BBC Sounds over the next 4 nights. So currently in the Championship then, Oxford 0, QPR 2, Swansea 3, Plymouth 0 and Coventry 0, Portsmouth 0. Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund has just got back underway in the Champions League. Barcelona lead by a goal to 0. They're about to get underway in Paris. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Aston Villa 1. Champions League final score available on the red button and on the iPlayer and on the BBC Sport website and app. To get the video printer and all the stats alongside commentary from Paul Robinson and Conor McNamara.
Thanks very much, Mark. Some talk of dark horses at the Masters in Augusta. Could Aston Villa be a dark horse to win the Champions League this season? They are holding their own just about here in Paris tonight, 1-1 against the Paris Saint-Germain team, who were very put out to go 1-0 down in that first half. The goal from Morgan Rogers. They responded almost immediately. Cracking finish from Désiré Doué. And Villa now have made a substitution at the start of the second half. It's in defence. Matty Cash picked up an early yellow card this evening. He has been replaced. Axel Disasi, who has played right back in recent games for Villa, has come on. That's probably, Paul Robinson, a shrewd move by Unai Emery, realising the pressure that Villa can expect to be. You don't want a defender on a yellow card in this second half.
No, and I think he was having a problem, wasn't he? Matty Cash, actually earlier down the left-hand side. He was getting the better of Matty Cash on numerous occasions, and I think there's a combination of the yellow card and that happening why Unai Emery's decided to make the change at half-time.
And the bowels of this stadium over the break, they really do serve the pungent cheese and the crusty baguettes that you'd expect. There's counterfuls of charcuterie, but now they're resuscitated and ready to go again as Dembele tries to crack in a shot from the edge of the penalty area. Boubacar Kamara, one of 3 Frenchmen on the pitch now for Villa, tries to clear the ball away. Disasi, Kamara and Digne. This is Désiré Doué on the right wing, where he started the game tonight, but most of the damage Paris Saint-Germain's number 14 has done tonight has been when he switches over to the left-hand side. 1-1 here, PSG in possession, but we go for news in Barcelona with John Akers. So we will try to connect with John shortly, but Barcelona against Dortmund, the other Champions League quarter-final being played this evening. Second legs of these games next week. Here is Fabian Ruiz stepping his way towards the penalty area. Disasi didn't want to engage too early because he knew that Kvaratskhelia was outside him. Here is Dembele. Heavy first touch. He was stretching for his second. Couldn't quite get the shot away. But the loose ball falls for Kvaratskhelia again. Just outside the penalty area on the left-hand side. Nuno Mendes is with him. This is all-out attack from PSG at the start of the second half. Nuno Mendes to the edge of the 6-yard box, tries to shoot, and Yuri Tielemans did so well just to get his body in the way there and prevent a clean shot at goal. And the reason for the increase in volume here is because there is boos and cheers from Emi Martinez, and you can't hear yourself think when the Argentinian goalkeeper has possession.
Kvaratskhelia down the left-hand side is causing a real problem for Disasi, who's only just come on the pitch. A lot of their play goes down that left-hand side. Doué interchanging with Dembele as well. They've got so much pace in the forward third.
Right, 1-1 here. What about in Catalonia? Barcelona, Dortmund, John Akers.
Barcelona have doubled their lead, and who else but 36-year-old Robert Lewandowski. Ball in from the right, Rafinha nodded it back across. He's on the goal line, nods it into the roof of the net. Barca 2, Dortmund 0.
Kvaratskhelia turns to the penalty area, shoots and scores for Paris Saint-Germain. A quite wonderful individual finish there. He has turned the Aston Villa defence inside out, and from a tight angle he sent a rocket high above Emi Martinez. Having been 1-0 down tonight, the French champions have turned it around to lead for for the very first time. It's only taken them 3.5 minutes since the restart. It's Paris Saint-Germain 2, Aston Villa 1.
Again, Kvaratskhelia absolutely brilliant down the left-hand side. Cuts inside and it's a finish of high quality. The Sassy gives him far too much room and space. He allows him to run at him, he runs at him, gets into the edge of the 18-yard box, twists and turns and hits a high shot into the roof of the net with his left foot, high past Emi Martinez, clips the inside of the near post. The Villa defenders look round at the goalkeeper, say you can't get beaten there, but it's the power, it's the pace on the shot, deceives Emi Martinez and puts Paris 2-1 up.
The Aston Villa fans slunk back in their seats, away in the far right-hand corner. Villa trail for the first time in this Champions League quarter-final. Kvaratskhelia, I'll tell you what, that was Champions League quality. The change of pace and direction. He had a lovely little manoeuvre in the penalty area to just get the little bit of space he needed. But the finish, and you know, we mentioned Desiree Doué's brilliant finish in the first half, clipping the crossbar. That one clipped just the very top corner between the post and the crossbar on its way through. It is precision finishing of the highest order.
A really good strike. Kvaratskhelia down that left-hand side. He beats the Sassy once with his pace, but then he takes the defender into the penalty box where he knows he can't touch him. He checks back and beats him again, and then you think the angle's too tight for him, you think the opportunity's gone, but he unleashes a left foot shot that flies past Emi Martinez, as you say, high into that near post area.
Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, who Paris Saint-Germain paid €70 million to sign from Napoli in January. Well, what a big instalment that he's repaid right there. He's been good all evening, but that was his moment. That is where he has come of age as a Paris Saint-Germain player. It's his first Champions League goal for the club. You stretch back to Napoli, it's only his second goal in 18 Champions League games. It's a brilliant one. As Paris Saint-Germain now look to establish a 2-goal lead. Here's Doué into the penalty area, pulling it back. Pau Torres stretches, is able to prod it outside the box, but Paris Saint-Germain's relentless attacking continues. Here's Dembélé, good work from Luca Digne, just nodding it away from Dembélé on the edge of the 6-yard box. But Paris Saint-Germain, Paul, they can smell the scent of blood now. They're going at Villa with even more rigour than ever before.
Yeah, it's last-ditch defending from Aston Villa already. The atmosphere inside the stadium is matching the tempo and the pace of the game. The Sassy's really struggled since he's come on. Change at half-time for Matty Cash at right-back. He hasn't got the pace of the game yet. He's been twisted inside and outside. He's given away possession on numerous occasions already. Really needs to pick up the pace very quickly.
João Neves, right-hand side of the midfield. Paris Saint-Germain in there, navy and red, playing from left to right as we look down at a packed Parc des Princes. Villa in their change kit, all white. Disasi tries to get in close to Nuno Mendes. John McGinn stretches out, gets in a little physical battle, but he can't win the ball. Disasi comes across to help him. It's, I have to say, great work from Nuno Mendes. If we speak about the determination, the grit of John McGinn, well, Nuno Mendes has got those qualities too. And Paris Saint-Germain are not shirking away from any challenges as Fabio Ruiz plays it into the penalty area. They try to tee it up for Dembélé, and it's Tielemans. Oh, he didn't clear it well. Here comes Ruiz again. Fabian Ruiz got away from Kamara but couldn't get away from Tielemans, who blocked once more. And Aston Villa continue to hang on. They continue to be penned in and around their own penalty area. Morgan Rogers tries to escape, but he can't. It's down a one-way street, and he loses possession, and Paris Saint-Germain come again.
There's no respite for Aston Villa at the moment. Absolutely no respite. They can't get out the defending third. They can't keep possession. Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, Neves, the two fullbacks pushed on. They're getting overpowered and overplayed in every single area of the pitch at the moment, Aston Villa.
Paris Saint-Germain 2, Aston Villa 1. 5 live for the BBC. We're on the Vidi printer, and we're on BBC Sounds 2 tonight. By the way, you can watch all of the goals from this week's Champions League matches on the highlights show with Gabby Logan. That is 10:40 this evening. This is Lucas Beraldo on his first Champions League start. The Brazilian central defender made his international debut for Brazil against England at Wembley last season. He's got number 35 on his back. He's in for the suspended Marquinhos tonight. Here comes Hakimi down the right-hand side. Can't get into the penalty area as a challenge comes in, and Villa are going to get a free kick here, and Oxford have got a goal back at home to Queen's Park Rangers. Oxford 1, QPR 2 midway through the second half there. Here in Paris, it's a free kick for Villa, and Pau Torres 15 yards outside his own penalty area.
It's Jacob Ramsey that wins the free kick for Aston Villa. But Jacob Ramsey, Morgan Rogers, John McGinn, they're in areas of the pitch that Aston Villa don't want them. They're sitting deep, they're sitting in front of that back four, protecting the back four, and they really are having to put a shift in Aston Villa just to stay in this game.
Just to put in context how attack-minded Paris Saint-Germain have been tonight, you know, we are not over-egging this pudding. In the first half, PSG had the most shots in the first half of any Champions League game in almost a decade. And you think of the games they've been in, the latter stages of this competition that they've been to. I mean, they won a game 7-0 recently in the Champions League. They didn't have as many shots in the first half of that game as they did tonight. That is how, not just dominant of possession, but how attacking that Paris Saint-Germain have been this evening. Dembele doesn't control the ball there. Good work from Kamara, but he can't hold on to it again. This is a real problem for Villa tonight. They work so hard to get it, but then they relinquish that possession immediately as Fabian Ruiz tries his look down the left-hand side and Disasi slides in to win the ball back. Now McGinn, a careful touch to Tielemans. Morgan Rogers helps it on. That's better. Ramsey will come over the halfway line. He's got Rashford on the left wing. A natural habitat for Marcus Rashford, who tries to barge his way into the penalty area, but the teenager Desiree Doué bites into him again and regains possession for Paris Saint-Germain.
And that shows how hard that Paris worked for each other. Doué scored that brilliant goal in the first half. He's back in his own box.
10 minutes into the second half, it was at this stage of the game on Saturday that they got their winner against Angers. A shot comes in from Kvaratskhelia and it's blocked out for a corner again. Paris Saint-Germain want a third goal. They want to take a dominant lead to Villa Park next week for the second leg. They've got a 2-1 lead here and they've got a corner.
They're in trouble at the moment, Aston Villa. They really are rocking. You know, they're struggling to get any type of ball retention, and when they do, they lose possession. Paris Saint-Germain are on top of them so quickly. The pace, the tempo that the Paris team play with, it's a pleasure to watch.
And yet Villa have won their last 7 games in a row. They say ain't over yet. The corner comes in. Looked like it came off Konsa's head, but the referee says last touch off William Pacho, the Ecuadorian, so that's a goal kick for Emi Martinez as Villa try to take a breath.
Do you know what? If they get out here tonight and they've lost 2-1, that's not a bad result for them. They'll fancy the chances at Villa Park. They'll obviously play in a very different way. There'll be a lot more attacking. They'll have to, obviously, in the knockout competition. But if they get out of here tonight by losing only 1 goal, I think that's a real result, the way that Paris Saint-Germain have played.
You know, it's been such a non-stop game, Paul. One factor we haven't discussed tonight is the Marco Asensio question, which is, does the player on loan from Paris Saint-Germain, who has been a revelation in a Villa shirt so far, at what stage, surely, does he have to come on to be part of this?
Well, he's got 3 goals in the Champions League in his 2 Champions League games, both of them coming off the bench. So that's an option that Unai Emery's got, and we said before the game, you look at this Aston Villa squad now, they're in a really good position as a club, as a team, as a squad. They have got strength and depth, and they have got the options on the bench for Unai Emery to change it.
Free kick to Villa. Marco Asensio's been prepared, actually. We're going to see him sooner rather than later. Free kick is going to be taken by Yuri Tielemans. It's in the centre circle. Everyone else has gone forward. Right-footed ball into the penalty area. Disasi jumping and trying to win it. Comes down for John McGinn. Just outside the corner angle of the penalty area that Villa attack. Here comes the cross, whipped in from the right-hand side. Pau Torres with a header, but it came off the top of his head. He couldn't direct it down with his forehead. It's kept in play by Jacob Ramsey on the far side. Villa, can they keep it in the Paris Saint-Germain half now for a while? Tielemans, high and hopeful into the penalty area, looking for Morgan Rogers. Nuno Mendes wins the header. That's class from Kvaratskhelia. He does a nutmeg to break through the press, and he releases Desiree Doué, who's got to run into the penalty area here. Arriving Fabian Ruiz, sells a dummy, Hakimi, saved by Martinez, diving down to his right-hand side when it felt like Achraf Hakimi was about to pick his spot. Wow, that was a counter-attack and a half from Paris Saint-Germain.
2 passes from back to front, the pace and the speed that they attack at. Hakimi has a really good effort on the edge of the box, curls it with the inside of his left foot down to Emi Martinez's right-hand side. This time the goalkeeper makes an excellent save.
Dancing into the penalty area, shoots it, it's blocked by Konsa, and Emi Martinez sprints out to the edge of his area to gather, and immediately he bowls it out low to Ramsey, who brings possession up to the halfway line. 5 live in Paris tonight in the Champions League. PSG 2, Aston Villa 1, and Marcos Asensio is about to come on. The Spaniard, who's got 8 goals in his last 8 appearances for Aston Villa. There is over a half an hour of this game to go. He's on for Ramsey, who appeared to be struggling with injury in the first half and has now been replaced.
Going back to that save, that was an excellent save by Emi Martinez. His distance from his line allowed him to get himself into the position. It was a shot from the edge of the box with decent pace, and the thing what Martinez did well, he got a big strong hand and he pushed it out the danger area, pushed it away from danger, and he was able to regain possession of the ball. Good save by the Aston Villa goalkeeper.
Paris Saint-Germain have attempted the last 12 shots in this game. Can Villa hit on the counter as they did in the first half? And if you weren't with our coverage earlier, Villa took the lead in this game. A brilliant counter-attacking goal. McGinn and Tielemans combining to set up Morgan Rogers to score. Here's Asensio. First time he's been involved. Immediately pocket-picked. Ball expertly taken off him there by João Neves. And here comes the Paris Saint-Germain charge again. It's played in front of Kvaratskhelia. He'll pick it up. Socks low at his legs. Into the penalty area comes. Drills it low across. Konza makes a block at the edge of the 6-yard box. And Villa just about get it away. Morgan Rogers runs in to an absolute brick wall that is Nuno Mendes there. Rogers, who is no slight figure, tried to cannon his way past Nuno Mendes, and he just bounced off him and fell to the ground. That was seriously sturdy defending from the Paris Saint-Germain left back. Pau Torres' possession for Villa. 2-1 down in Paris. Luca Digne rolls it back to Emi Martinez, and in his bright yellow shirt and his ears deafened with the din of the cheers and the boos of the Paris Saint-Germain fans, who are very much enjoying that he's behind after taunting them about the World Cup earlier on. Desiré Doué, just outside the D of the penalty area. Dembele takes a tumble. Good challenge though by Luca Digne. Tielemans tries to bring it out of defence. This is McGinn. Poor ball. Straight to João Neves. And Villa struggling to put 3 passes together in a row as Paris Saint-Germain come again.
Kvaratskhelia, he's almost unplayable. He's absolutely excellent on that left-hand side. Disasi's nowhere near him.
Here he goes again, pushing it in front of Dembele, who tries to turn this appeals for a handball. Kamara was the defender. Now, he lost his footing, so even if this did come off his arm, the referee could say, after VAR review, that he is supporting his falling weight. We're getting to see a replay. The ball does strike his hand. However, he is sliding on the ground, and will the officials say that that is the supporting arm? I think they will, and it's confirmed. Check over. I'll tell you what, for a moment, Villa would have been worried.
Well, Paris Saint-Germain players were absolutely adamant. Immediately they put their arm in the air, went to surround the referee. But you described it perfectly, Connor. Kamara slipped and he was sliding out the field of play, and his hand was there to support his body weight. He couldn't do it, couldn't do anything, couldn't get his hand out the way, but it is a lucky escape.
Kvaratskhelia going to take the corner kick. He's been brilliant tonight. Here he comes, short runner, whips it in low. Little flick on header, saved well by Martinez, who dramatically falls to the ground, but did well to make sure that stuck to his gloves. But the Georgian, Kvaratskhelia, he's a bit of a throwback. He feels like a player from the 70s or the 80s. There's a bit of the Chris Waddle about him, the languid run, the socks down low. He's magic to watch.
8 goals and 8 assists this season. You can see why he's causing Aston Villa so many problems. Disasi, who's come on at right back, he's given him far too much time and space. He's not getting close to him, he's not closing him down quick enough, and when he does that, the Georgian runs at him. He's got pace and he gets past him, and when he does go tight, he skips round him.
Villa 2-1 down. Rogers tries to dribble his way into the penalty area. Asensio is ahead of him, but he can't pick the pass. And it goes through to Gianluigi Donnarumma, who's only handled the ball a couple of times tonight. It's been so rare that it's been anywhere near the Italian goalkeeper. 2-1 to PSG here at the Parc des Princes. What about Barcelona against Dortmund in tonight's other Champions League quarter-final first leg? John Akers.
Barcelona 2, Dortmund 0. 64 minutes gone and Barcelona have just hit the post. Lopez just inside the penalty area, left-footed, clipped the base of the goalkeeper's right-hand post. Barca 2, Dortmund 0.
Here, Paris Saint-Germain 2, Aston Villa 1. As Paris Saint-Germain come on the attack again. Fabian Ruiz, Euros winner last summer with Spain. Back into the midfield again. Little João Neves and Vitinha. Beraldo comes forward, helping it on. It's 1-2 touch football for Paris Saint-Germain as they let the ball do the work. This has been an arduous, hard-working night for Aston Villa just to try and keep tabs on the whirl that's happening in front of them all the time. Nuno Mendes gives it out to the exciting Kvaratskhelia on the far side. He'll give it back into Nuno Mendes once again. Villa, who are hoping they'll get the chance to snatch another counter-attack goal, but will that opportunity come? Still half an hour to go in this one once the stoppages are added on at the end. Fabian Ruiz infield to Vitinha, allowed to turn. Marcus Asensio is the nearest player to him, but can't get close. Vitinha again. They've just got great peripheral vision, these Paris Saint-Germain players. They can always spot who has got the best space. Vitinha's that player at the moment. The Italian referee just steps away to get out of his intended path. Pacho to Beraldo, and all the Aston Villa players are locked inside their own final third here. 2-1 down. Can Unai Emery find a way to get Aston Villa back on parity? And as Paul said earlier on, 2-1 mightn't be the worst eventuality going back to Villa Park next week, where surely Paris Saint-Germain won't be able to control things as comfortably as they've done here.
By the way that Paris Saint-Germain have played tonight, if Aston Villa get out of here 2-1 down, they've had an absolute result. It's a brilliant result for them.
Is Dembele picking up a little deep position at the moment. The movement is great. The way they swap position. Kvaratskhelia now out on the right-hand side. Hakimi gives it back to him. He has a look, plays it early into the penalty area, trying to pick out Joe Neves. Flicked away by Konza, but that's all Villa can do. Flick it away, prod it away. Bail water out of the canoe. Here comes Vitinha, midway inside the Aston Villa half. Kvaratskhelia surrounded by players there. McGinn was in for a nibble, so Kvaratskhelia immediately retreated. Here comes Vitinha. 2 goals already in the Champions League this season for the central midfielder. He's had a couple of decent shots tonight. There's a goal in Barcelona against Dortmund. John Akers.
3-0, tie could be over. Barcelona 3, Dortmund 0 on the breakaway, with Dortmund pressing for a goal. Ball in, found the right boot of Lewandowski. Bang, goalkeeper got a hand to it but couldn't keep it out. Barcelona 3, Dortmund 0.
Barcelona doing an Arsenal there. What a midweek it's already been of European football, and it continues tomorrow. We'll be in France again. Lyon against Manchester United, 8 o'clock kickoff. That's the Europa League quarter-final. We'll keep you up to date with how Tottenham, Rangers and Chelsea all get on in their ties as well. But more live European football tomorrow on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Tonight it's the Champions League quarter-final first leg. Aston Villa 2-1 down in what's been a pulsating game at the Parc des Princes. Here's Desiree Doué. This time the trick doesn't work. He tried a little circus act, but Axel Disasi kept his eye on the ball. Villa, though, after Disasi did so well to win it, can't hold on to possession. And here come Paris Saint-Germain again. Beraldo, long way out, shoots left-footed, easy for Emi Martinez to get down and to make the save. Paris Saint-Germain 2, Aston Villa 1. Here's Paul Robinson.
Cannot overemphasise the dominance what Paris Saint-Germain are having in this game. The possession that they've got, the possession in the final third, high up the pitch. The stats surrounding this game: 75% possession, Paris Saint-Germain, 22 shots, 8 on target. It's, you almost put another ball on the pitch so Aston Villa can play.
Yeah. Worth mentioning at this stage that Paris Saint-Germain are hunting a quadruple. They've already got 2 trophies this season, including the French League title. They've got the French Cup final to come, and they are hoping that this team can go on to great things in the Champions League too. Free kick has been awarded inside the centre circle, and just a moment to breathe in what has been a frenzied atmosphere at this famous old stadium tonight in the French capital.
We spoke about Paris Saint-Germain and Luis Enrique and what he's built here and the team that he's built. He touched on the young players, the 5th youngest starting 11 average in the whole of the Champions League. Average age of the team, 24 years, 240 days. That's frightening. So when you think about what he's building for this year, that's not just foundations this year. That's 2, 3, 4 years of solid success with a quality squad.
Villa have taken the free kick. They've given it to Morgan Rogers on the right-hand side. Trying to get a bit of an angle to send it across, which he does, but it's delivered too high and it sails over everyone and quite harmlessly goes out for a goal kick. And Marcus Rashford kind of glares over him, and he wanted a better delivery there. But yes, Luis Enrique, who's had his success in this competition in the past, of course. Tonight his 100th game in charge of Paris Saint-Germain in all competitions. And there's no Messis and no Neymars and no Mbappes these days. But boy, he has built a team here.
They're impressive. They're a really impressive watch as well, you can see.
Over the top of Disasi again. Pau Torres sweeping in behind, just about gets there ahead of Doué. But, whether it's short passes to carve through you, long direct passes, little through ball. They have so many tools in their bag to Paris Saint-Germain to break down a defence. As Dembele here is tackled by Yuri Tielemans, who comes away with possession, running with long strides over the halfway line, rolls it in front of Marcus Rashford. Can Rashford pull a little bit of the old magic out of the bag here? Into the penalty area he goes, down, having collided with Hakimi. It looked speculative, it looked like he was trying to get something there, Marcus Rashford, and the Italian referee was having absolutely none of it as Paris Saint-Germain come down the other end. Still 2-1 in front here against Aston Villa. Dembele, twinkle toes into the penalty area. Kvaratskhelia near the byline on the right hand side has a look up and sees that Hakimi is available at Paris Saint-Germain, ready to dig into this trench that they've built again just to the edge of the Aston Villa penalty area, and they work it over to the left hand side to Desiré Doué. You can't hear yourself thinking here. It is ear-splittingly loud as the songs are sung by this Paris Saint-Germain support base, who is used to their team dominating whoever comes here to the Parc des Princes.
They're so deep now, Aston Villa. It's attack versus defence at the moment, isn't it? And the turnover of possession again. Villa 1 or 2 passes and they're smothered. They're almost swamped out of it.
John McGinn is the latest to try and charge his way out. Gives it to Luca Digne. Look at that, Luis Enrique, as soon as Villa had the ball there, he was waving his arm, urging his players to say, attack Villa, don't let them have it in their own half, be brave. And that has worked so well against Unai Emery's team tonight. Here's Tielemans near the centre circle, up towards John McGinn, shielding the ball. Challenge from behind by Joe Neves. That looked a free kick to me. Referee says no. Play on. Camara tries to win it back here, and then he's adjudged to have given away a free kick for a foul on Doué. Fabian Ruiz tries to take it quickly, too quickly for the referee's liking. Free kick to Paris Saint-Germain, but just a little microcosm there of how difficult it is for Villa when they thought they might have had a free kick of their own, but then a free kick is given against them.
The way that PSG play, you've got to have the buy-in from all the players. It's not about 1 or 2 players pressing, it's not about 3 or 4 setting traps, it's the whole team. And he's got the buy-in from every single player. The way that he's coached them and the way that he's drilled this team into doing it. You say that the team is the star, and you can really see it, but to play this way, they have to have everyone.
Hakimi, what a pass that was by Kvaratskhelia. What a goal, but it's not going to stand. He's offside, Hakimi. He threaded it through the eye of a needle. What a narrow angle, what a brilliant finish from Achraf Hakimi. But as the pass was played to him, the flag went up. He was he offside? Certainly to the nearest defender. Might Pau Torres in field to play him on? No, the check immediately over. They've got the semi-automated offside, and that has confirmed that he was off. Paris Saint-Germain were so close to going 3-1 up there with 20 minutes to play.
There was a beautiful 1-2 again, wasn't it? Kvaratskhelia on the right-hand side this time. Him and Hakimi linked up, and in all fairness, Hakimi should have stayed onside. He's an experienced player, and he's looking all the way across the Aston Villa back line, straight offside, got one-on-one with Emi Martinez, put it through his legs, but he was just offside.
We've spoken about the talented youngsters in this Paris Saint-Germain team. Well, they're just making a double change here to bring on 2 more wonder kids. Warren Zaïre-Emery, who only turned 19 in March, you'll have remembered him last season, one of the youngest players to ever play in the Champions League, and Bradley Barcola, who is a full French international, who apart from Dembele has been PSG's top scorer this season. So Zaïre-Emery and Barcola are on, and they've taken the place of Fabian Ruiz and Desiré Doué. Play back underway here in Paris. 5 Live on BBC Sounds. Paris Saint-Germain 2, Aston Villa 1. It's been an excellent watch. Rashford trying to put some pressure here on Beraldo, but even though it's spun away from Beraldo, oh, hang on a minute, McGinn has got it back again, and here's Morgan Rogers, and he shoots, and it's saved by Donnarumma. He tried to tuck it into the bottom corner, Morgan Rogers. He put it too close to the keeper, and it was comfortable for Donnarumma.
He was almost amazed at the time and space that he had, Morgan Rogers. It was a tame effort in the end, comfortable save for Donnarumma. Arguably should have hit a better shot.
Right, here's Barcola involved for the first time, plays it across low from the left wing, and it's saved by Emi Martinez, diving down onto the ground. That was a chance though for Morgan Rogers down the other end, and Villa haven't had too many of them tonight.
No, it was a real chance getting to see it again on the monitors. He had time, he had space, he could have picked his spot just inside the PSG penalty area, opened up on his right foot, didn't quite get the connection that he wanted with it. 2-1 Paris Saint-Germain lead. Villa wearing all white.
Tielemans in front of Luca Digne, the former PSG player, who immediately plays it down the left wing for Marcus Rashford. Close to the byline. Gloves on, long sleeves. Digne goes as a decoy run. It's played back to Youri Tielemans on the edge of the penalty area. Infield now. Down goes Kamara. He wants a free kick again. Vitinha was the person behind him. No free kick even by the referee, but they play on. And Kamara into the penalty area. Stretches, tries to flick it with the outside of his right boot, but he just couldn't get the touch. Well, there's been two attacks from Villa in the last 2 minutes, Paul, that show they've still got a bit of fight left in them here, despite the exhaustion they're suffering defending.
Yeah, it was a good third-man run from Kamara, got into the box, couldn't quite get any contact with the ball, but as you say, that opportunity for Morgan Rogers, Kamara there getting himself in the box. They do feel that they do have a little bit left in them, Aston Villa, going forward.
Paris Saint-Germain have won their last 9 domestic league games in a row. First time they've done that under Luis Enrique. Aston Villa, who got that 2-1 winner for Nottingham Forest on Saturday, strengthening their hopes of being in this competition again next season. And Unai Emery has still got a few jokers in his pack. He still has a few hands to play, and he's going to play them. It is a triple change being prepared for Aston Villa here, going into this final quarter of an hour or so at the Parc des Princes. Paris Saint-Germain have possession. Vitinha, 15 yards outside the penalty area that PSG attack. João Neves, who's a real neat and tidy player, short in stature but really tidy, gives it to Vitinha. All sorts of options, gives a short ball to Ousmane Dembele, but wherever you look there's people making little sprints, trying to create openings. Villa have got to be on high alert to all of them. Achraf Hakimi has possession on the right hand side, gives it to Kvaratskhelia, and then back to the defence where Beraldo will play it back to Pacho. And the three players who've got to come on for Villa are going to be Maatsen, Onana and Watkins. So those are the three who Unai Emery is charging with to try and come on and really re-infuse his team with the energy they're going to need here for the closing stages, and who knows, maybe even get an equaliser. Kvaratskhelia plays a dangerous ball into the penalty area. João Neves was a whisker away. He was sliding, he didn't get a touch, and he says the reason he didn't get a touch is because it came off Pau Torres, which it did. So that's a corner to PSG on the left-hand side. 2-1 they lead, exactly quarter of an hour to play.
You can understand why he's going to change it, Unai Emery. He's got to change it, he's got to give some players a rest, freshen it up. A few more forward-thinking ideas. Villa were in a back 7 at that point. 7 shirts in a white line all the way across the box.
It has been that sort of night for Aston Villa in Europe. Their first European Cup quarter-final since 1983, as eventually the ball comes into the penalty area and it's gathered by Emi Martinez. You'll hear the boos. He tries to deliver it up to Asensio. It's a great kick from Martinez. It very nearly picks out Asensio, but Pacho was back there and he's done really well to get it back for Paris Saint-Germain. 2-1 to the French side here. Back to Barcelona and John Akers.
Tell you what, Barcelona are going to take some stopping this year. Barcelona 4, Dortmund 0. It's Lamine Yamal on the breakaway, 3 against 1. Topo, lovely left foot finish. All the front 3 have scored for Barca. Barcelona 4, Dortmund 0.
So Lamine Yamal, the only teenager younger than Doué, who scored here for Paris Saint-Germain, to have scored more goals than Desiré Doué this season. Barcelona getting the job done emphatically. Arsenal did last night. Paris Saint-Germain, who dominated this game but have got a 1-goal advantage against an Aston Villa team who are clinging on, but make no mistakes, are still in this quarter-final with a whole second leg still to come in Birmingham next week. It's all over at Swansea. Swansea against Plymouth tonight. Here's Laura Kenyon as Kvaratskhelia slides in the box. He wants a penalty. He's not going to get it. Laura.
It's finished Swansea 3, Plymouth 0. The damage done in the first half. Goals from an O'Brien, Darling and Key leaves Plymouth's faint hopes of championship survival even fainter. Just shy of 2,000 away fans in South Wales will be disappointed with the manner of this defeat. Lacked any fight or urgency. Still 5 points from safety. Games running out for Plymouth. Full time. Swansea 3, Plymouth 0.
Thanks, Laura. Unai Emery wants to make his triple change, and he can't because the ball doesn't go out of play. And even then, when it did go out of play, they took it so quickly he didn't get a chance. Here's Barcola to the edge of the box. Vitinha, unselfish, he could have got a shot away himself there. He's laid it off. Attempted a little 1-2 with Warren Zaire-Emery, but it's just relentless. Paris Saint-Germain, they have set up camp on the edge of the Aston Villa penalty area. Barcola has turned Disasi inside out, pulls it back, but Youri Tielemans, well positioned in the penalty area, is able to make the interception. What does Kamara do from here? He can't get it away. There was no option. It's so impressive what Paris Saint-Germain are doing here. Barcola in the penalty area, pulls it back to the edge. Kvaratskhelia, heavy touch, difficult one to control, to be fair to him. Still Villa can't get it away. And a little dink ball by Vitinha, looking for Hakimi. John McGinn at full stretch of the penalty area, puts it out for a PSG corner, and there is still 12 minutes of normal time to play here.
It's last-ditch defending again. John McGinn this time in the left-back position for Aston Villa. He completes the back line of 7, John McGinn, at the moment. He's playing in the left-back position. Disasi, who's come on at half-time, he really still hasn't got the pace of the game. He's been extremely poor since he came on.
Still Villa can't make the treble change. They don't want to change while they're defending a corner. Vitinha, this time shoots. It gets through a forest of legs, but it's wide of the target. It's a goal kick to Aston Villa, and this break in play now will give Unai Emery the chance to bring on the fresh leg. So Ian Maatsen, who scored against Bruges in the Champions League before the international break, who scored for the Netherlands against Spain in that international break in the Nations League. So he's coming on. Ollie Watkins, who's been an injury doubt, but they've been managing his minutes, but we know certainly from the Euros in the summer the sort of impact that Ollie Watkins can have late in the game. So he's on too, and Amadou Onana is coming on into the midfield as well. So it looks like John McGinn is one of those who's been replaced. He's certainly walking over John McGinn, and he's done a little high five with Maatsen. So McGinn is departing. Onana will slot in to a midfield role there. Maatsen having a little word with Digne. They're going to try and work in tandem. Rashford has gone off, so Maatsen on in place of Rashford. He's going to play as more of like an attacking left winger is Ian Maatsen, who's got good Champions League pedigree with Dortmund in the past, and Watkins, who's on to lead the line in attack. Tielemans is the other player who's been taken off. Yuri Tielemans, who's run his socks off tonight and surely can't have much left in the tank for these final 10 minutes, plus stoppages still to come, with Paris Saint-Germain leading Aston Villa in the Champions League quarter-final by 2-1.
As they came off, you could see there Yuri Tielemans, John McGinn, they were absolutely out on the feet. They've spent all night chasing the ball. They really have worked hard without having any of the football for the majority of the game. Worked their socks off without the ball, and they've had to, Aston Villa. And like we said, as we're entering these last 10 minutes, how? I don't know, but they're still in this game.
They could still get the equaliser. They absolutely could. Sure, Harvey Elliott's at home watching this and might be just nodding on the couch, as to what can happen late in the game when you've been dominated by Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc des Princes. Here's Pau Torres coming forward, recently back from injury, but he's put in a sterling defensive performance tonight. Luca Digne, back to Onana, who's just come on. 20 yards outside the penalty area that Aston Villa attack. Onana keeping his studs on the ball. I'm sure that's been an instruction coming from Unai Emery. Don't rush it. Make sure it's a careful pass. Don't give the ball away as easily as we have been doing. You can hear the cheers. The Parisian crowd don't like this, as Villa for the first time in a long time are getting a little bit of possession. Onana, this is a great burst. Gives it to Asensio, and the shot is just wide. He tried to pick his spot in the bottom corner. It deflected about 1.5 yards wide. It's a corner to Aston Villa, who are looking for a second wind here and to finish this first leg strongly. The corner's been taken quickly. Back to Luca Digne. Plays it in. Disasi's header down. Shoveled away by Nuno Mendes. And now Emi Martinez in a chase to the halfway line. Gets there ahead of Hakimi. Oh, I tell you, there'd have been some jeers if he'd missed that. Martinez from the crowd have been taunting him all night. As Villa give away the possession again. A goal kick to Paris Saint-Germain away to our left-hand side. It's just got the feeling, Paul, that there is a massive piece of drama lurking around every corner tonight. You feel something big could happen at any stage.
And Villa do look better since Onana's come on for the first time tonight. There's somebody who's put their foot on the ball, who's kept possession, who's controlled the pace of the game for Aston Villa. With him coming on, sitting in that holding midfield role, it's given Morgan Rogers the opportunity to go higher up, join in with Ollie Watkins, and for the first time in the whole of the game, the last 5 minutes, Villa have looked a lot more comfortable and in a better shape.
These two managers, Luis Enrique and Unai Emery, who met in one of the all-time, if not the all-time Champions League comeback when Emery's Paris Saint-Germain took a 4-goal lead in the first leg against Barcelona. They then went, was it 5-1 up in the second leg, and Barcelona came back to win it 6-5 in the end. That was these two coaches, much closer, much tighter from the early stages of this knockout tie between them tonight, but both will know that twists and turns are almost to be expected when it comes to the latter stages of the Champions League. And Warren Zaire-Emery has just played a good ball here to Nuno Mendes, taking on Morgan Rogers. Rogers looked to have fouled him there. Well, I think it happened outside the penalty area. Nuno Mendes fell into the box. The referee wasn't interested anyway, and he waved play on.
The referee's let a lot go tonight. You know, you've got to give him the credit because he's been consistent. He's not given some fouls, and he's not, booked players that he's not stopped the game unnecessarily. He's allowed it to flow, and there's some tackles like that one there that Morgan Rogers had on Mendes. It looked a clear foul, but he's been consistent with his decisions, the referee.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Paul. That is added to the entertainment value of this game, because players aren't appealing for nonsense, unless it's a really serious foul. They know this Italian referee is not going to give it. It's been very good from Maurizio Mariani. 2-1 Paris Saint-Germain lead. Big night in Europe for Aston Villa and their fans, their tickets in the away end have been absolute gold dust to get to be here, to witness this special evening. They've had a brilliant moment from Morgan Rogers. Could they have another one? 2-1 they trail on the night in this first leg. Paris Saint-Germain still with possession outside the Aston Villa penalty area. Suffice to say, you almost don't need to say that. That's where the ball's been all night, within striking distance of Emi Martinez. Here's Ousmane Dembele, who's been a goal machine for Paris Saint-Germain tonight, but he's not on the score sheet yet. He'd love to be, I'm sure, as he dribbles, tries to play a 1-2, but Hakimi doesn't return it to him. The option is to give it to Kvaratskhelia instead. But still the passes come, still a whir and a daze in front of the Aston Villa defenders who've got to try and deal with this, as Beraldo gives it into João Neves, and he runs in the Villa penalty area once again. Out to Barcola, he's been good since coming on. Vitinha, he's been good since the very start of the game. Hakimi up from right back where he's been almost all night. Vitinha again, they twisted one way, turn, then the other, and Villa to as much about concentration as any other physical attribute at the moment, as it remains 2-1 here, and the clock ticks on, and there's 5.5 minutes of normal time to play. Paul Robinson.
It's absolutely concentration. As you say, 5.5 minutes to go now, and they are camped on the edge of the box, but they've been like that for the most of the game. All they've got to do is continue doing what they've done, defend well, communicate with each other, and don't make the mistakes. Concentrate and get to the final whistle. Listen, this won't have been a comfortable listen or a watch for the Aston Villa fans. You'll be constantly nervous because your goal's constantly been under threat all night. But actually, if they get through this, they've done a job.
Kvaratskhelia into the penalty area again. Nice work by Zaire-Emery, but then he can't pick out a teammate. Paris Saint-Germain hold on to it, but they've been pushed away from the Villa penalty area. Here at Parc des Princes, where Liverpool won in this competition earlier this season, but still went out in aggregate after the second leg. Paris Saint-Germain hoping that they'll have an advantage to bring to Villa Park next week. Here's Vitinha looking for the arriving João Neves. Good defending, well tracked back by Maatsen. Maatsen, who's ostensibly playing left midfield, but he knows all about playing left back, and he was back to help Luca Digne there. Still 2-1 to Paris Saint-Germain.
Covered round really, really well. João Neves trying to get in at the back post. Uncharacteristic by PSG, put a poor ball into the box. But as you say, Maatsen was there, he put his body in the way, and he's got his team a priceless, you would say, at this stage, goal kick.
No Premier League team has conceded more goals in stoppage time this season than Aston Villa. And in the last 15 minutes of games, they've conceded the third most goals.
I think the Villa fans have had enough nerves tonight without you giving them stats at this stage.
I'm just laying out the jeopardy, Paul, of what's happening here against a incessant, persistent, non-stop Paris Saint-Germain attack, and I think it puts in context how well Paris Saint-Germain have played tonight. That, this sounds almost patronising, but when you're here in the Parc des Princes and you've witnessed what we've witnessed, Paul, to have only conceded 2 goals tonight is actually a massive achievement.
He'll look at this Unai Emery after the game, and if it does stay 2-1, he'll think, look, we got away with that. The game plan that he set up, you can see how defensively they'd wanted to be. I don't suspect he wanted to be as defensive as they have been, but Paris Saint-Germain have been absolutely excellent, almost unplayable at times.
Right, Villa have had almost nothing tonight in terms of corners, attacking free kicks, anything like that. They've got a throw in here, level with the edge of the penalty area they attack. It is left-hand side. Luca Digne runs up the little slope to the edge of the pitch, arches his back, throws it in, Onana with a flick on it, and it hits the side netting. Well, in a night when they've had to feed off scraps, it was something, but 2-1 down it remains for Aston Villa.
Now that would have been the epitome of smash and grab, wouldn't it? It really would. Long throw from Maatsen on this near side. It's a weapon that they've got now. He's come onto the pitch, and any opportunity that Aston Villa get now from a set play, why not just throw it in the box?
Coverage of the 89th edition of the Masters from Augusta starts tomorrow night from 8 o'clock across 5 Live, Sports Extra and BBC Sounds. Mark Chapman is at the course and will be live on air tomorrow with that. We've also got Lyon against Manchester United, full commentary in the Europa League. That's also the quarter-final stage. That's tomorrow at 8 o'clock UK time. Queen's Park Rangers, who were 2-1 up away at Oxford, late in stoppage time, have made it 3. Oxford 1, Queen's Park Rangers 3 in the Championship. Here in Paris, Vitinha plays a little 1-2 with Dembele. Into the centre circle again to João Neves. Back to William Pacho. Will 2-1 satisfy Paris Saint-Germain, or can they force a third? Here's Barcola to the byline down the left. That's a brilliant pull back. Zaire Emery shoots, and it's blocked by Disasi. What an important block that was to ensure that Emi Martinez did not have to make a save. Luca Digne launches in for Aston Villa. Clips a little clearance up towards Morgan Rogers. Across comes João Neves, who's been so good at doing that tonight, and he breaks down any chance of a counter-attack for Aston Villa as the ball goes out for a throw-in to Paris Saint-Germain. And Lucas Enrique actually stepped onto the pitch there to pat João Neves on the back for that.
But that's the piece of concentration that we're talking about there, that one long ball over the top. The pace of Barcola down that left-hand side with Disasi. Disasi switched off. Barcola got in behind him. Thankfully for Villa, Disasi got back in and made the block in the end. Here
is Bradley Barcola again. He has picked up where Doué left off. That was a good substitution at the time from Luis Enrique. 2-1 Paris Saint-Germain lead, playing an English team for the 4th time this season in the Champions League. They've already faced Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool. And now Kvaratskhelia is tackled by Luca Digne, who wants the throw-in to be for Villa, but Villa aren't getting those sort of 50-50 calls tonight. Unai Emery screams on the instructions from the halfway line. He doesn't want any late bit of bad news here tonight. 2-1 he can deal with. 3-1 would be much more difficult. We'll go to Coventry in a moment, but Paris Saint-Germain are on the attack here. Kvaratskhelia, edge of the box, challenged by Onana. Won back again by João Neves, but it's going to be a free kick for a foul, and that's a free kick at Villa, and they'll take an opportunity to try and get up into the other end of the field. Late stages here in Paris. What about Coventry against Portsmouth? Charlie Slater.
15 seconds remaining, still 0-0. This would be a precious point for Pompey, but Coventry want all 3. This wouldn't be good enough to take them back into the top 6. Coventry throwing everything at it, but can't find a breakthrough. 0-0.
And it has finished. Oxford United 1, Queen's Park Rangers 3. That is all over in the Championship. We are into stoppages. 3 minutes only, Paul. Just 3 minutes remaining. As Maatsen comes on the attack down the left-hand side for Villa, plays a good ball to Ollie Watkins, who's not had much of the ball since coming on. Rogers turns and shoots. Good effort, but he couldn't get the bend, and it sails into the crowd.
Well, Luis Enrique is going mad with the 4th official down below. He can't believe there's only 3 minutes. I think I've just seen him put his fingers up, suggesting 6 substitutions in only 3 minutes, and there has been a few stoppages. Villa have managed the game extremely well. For Aston Villa, that is brilliant news.
And I think that says a lot, that the team in front are the one who are more frustrated that there isn't more time being added on. That just shows that Villa, even though they're behind, would feel it's more likely finish now than risk playing longer, because the longer this goes on, it feels more likely Paris Saint-Germain would add to their tally.
You do get the feeling this is a chance missed for PSG, you really do. The dominances that they've had, the quality that they've had, how they've played in the final third without creating, real opportunities in this second half. Luis Enrique will be disappointed that this game isn't over. Unai Emery, delighted.
You look at the scorelines that Barcelona put up tonight, they're 4-0 up at Dortmund, that Arsenal put up last night. That's how you establish a big lead in the first leg of a Champions League quarter-final. And scoreline-wise, this doesn't reflect the game yet, but it might do now. Dembele's in. What a trick! What a goal! Brilliant finish. It's not Dembele. It's a super finish to score around the goalkeeper to play it in. It is a 3rd goal of the night from Paris Saint-Germain, and after a minute and a half of stoppage time, they've got that extra goal that really sinks it in now. This is the lead that they have been worthy of tonight. This is the scoreline that Paris Saint-Germain's performance has deserved. It's Nuno Mendes up from left back. I was sure that was Dembele, the way he expertly turned, but it's Nuno Mendes with the 3rd. World-class finish in the end for the fullback.
Sensational, absolutely sensational finish by Nuno Mendes. Up from left back, gets himself one-on-one with Emi Martinez, It looks like the chance is gone, but he does a little Cruyff turn with his left foot, takes the goalkeeper and the Villa defender out the game, curls it into the top corner with his right foot, and that scoreline now reflects the game that we've been watching.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Unai Emery was not complaining that there was only 3 minutes being added on. We are now just approaching that 3-minute mark. Aston Villa were not able to hang on and survive at, inverted commas, only 2-1 down. It's now 3, and it's not an unfair reflection. And I'll tell you what, they may not have Mbappe and Neymar and all those guys anymore, but this Paris Saint-Germain team is a serious outfit. They have been incredible to watch tonight.
They cannot have any complaints, Aston Villa, they really can't.
PSG aren't done. Barcola coming forward. Zaire Emery shoots, and it's just over the top. He's appealing that Martinez touched it on the way through, but he didn't. There it goes. Full-time whistle. Talk about a late punch to really assert the damage. And look at the celebrations down there. Luis Enrique, huge beaming smile, is punching the air in celebration. He's hugging the backroom staff. That third goal, Paul, is going to sting Villa. They put in a very brave performance here in incredibly difficult circumstances, but that third goal means that Villa really haven't now gotten away with this tonight.
It was massive. It was absolutely massive. Destroying for Aston Villa. PSG, everything that they deserved. That third goal is huge. You can see Luis Enrique on the pitch with his staff and the players. The noise level in the stadium when that third goal went in. Listen, it's what they deserve. They've been by far the better of the two teams. Aston Villa would have got away with it if it was 2-1, but that's a blow. That is a real sucker punch.
It's been a night in Paris where we didn't have a moment to pause and compose our thoughts and take a breath. It has been a frantic game. It featured 4 goals in the end. You know, as the dust settles, you almost have to remind yourself that Aston Villa scored first tonight, Paul. Morgan Rogers gave them the lead. And in that circumstance, it only makes it even more impressive that Paris Saint-Germain have been able to turn it around so emphatically.
They were outplayed in every single department tonight, Aston Villa. They were the PSG were the better team by a long, long way. I think it's when we watch them there and you see it firsthand, you see the pace of the counter-attack that they have, but the pace that they press at and they win the ball back, how hungry they are. Those Aston Villa players have put in a real shift defensively tonight, but they just couldn't live with the quality that PSG have.
What a week Paris Saint-Germain are having. They have already secured a double. They won the domestic league title on Saturday. They've the Champions League and the French Cup still to come. There is a mood of celebration in this stadium that says they believe they can go on and complete a quadruple. They've been a force of nature tonight, and the only regret that Luis Enrique will have is that they didn't score more. This has been a sobering finish for Aston Villa on a giddy night overall, but tonight they went to big school. They played against the big boys in the Champions League, and Aston Villa have it all to do now, back at Villa Park next week for the second leg. It finishes tonight. Paris Saint-Germain 3, Aston Villa 1.